In a world where space and time are intertwined, one man dared to challenge the status quo. His name? Dayton Miller. His weapon of choice? A flute. But not just any flute. This instrument held the power to unleash the ether, a pervasive medium once thought to fill the universe. Miller, a physicist by trade, a musician at heart, discovered a harmonic resonance within the ether. He found that his flute, when played with precision, could manipulate this elusive medium. His melodies, a symphony of science, had the potential to shift the very fabric of reality. However, a sinister force lurked in the shadows. The Einsteinian demons. These creatures thrived in the distortion of space-time, causing chaos and disruption. The world...
Hola, lads. We're going to get into a community sesh night. Our boy Brian Sweet already had his space going, so Shane and I are going to join his space.
Guess what? On your globe, the continent of Antarctica has other bases close to Australia.
Antarctica is only
and they
13.
can land and they can refuel and then they can take off from there, refuel and fly across the goddamn continent and land in fucking Australia. They do that, you have circumnavigated. Because you know you can fly from, everybody knows you can fly from Australia to the North Pole. Everybody knows you can fly from South America to the North Pole. The only thing anybody wants to see is somebody take off in a plane, fly across Antarctica, and land in Australia.
Well, there has been one aeroplane which has gone from, I think, Argentina to Darwin. But that wasn't to do with this thing.
Well, I mean, you know, on your globe, it's a much shorter distance running straight across that continent. It's a very short distance. Refueling is not a problem, and they should be able to do it. They should be able to do it in a calculable number of hours.
Well, like I said, if they want to go out there and meet the requirements of flat earthers next time round,
this isn't a requirement of flat earthers. This is a requirement.
Well, it kind of is. It seems. It does seem like that because as far as they were concerned, they hit the North Pole and South Pole. They were happy. You guys aren't.
There is no reason for them to even look at South America. There's absolutely no reason. They could start at South America. They even they going across South America or South Africa. They could have started in South America. There's no reason that they went up the coast to South America. There's no reason for it. They shouldn't even been there. It doesn't make sense on your ball.
No, and the thing is, they could do it from Australia to South America or South America to Australia. The idea is that you have to fly straight across that continent. That's the only thing.
And it's
not
only
go down there and hang out and come out, you know, go down from Africa and come out at South America and fly back up to the North Pole and say, hey, I circumnavigated. No, you didn't. You didn't circumnavigate. You didn't cross that continent.
And Antarctica is only allegedly at 13,000 miles in circumference.
Well, here's the deal. My point, too, is the starting point is irrelevant. You could start up here in the north, Minneapolis, St. Paul, MSP Airport, with what I just laid out, okay? And yes, it's inconvenient, right? Why would they do that? To appease flat earth, whatever. We can dismiss that. The fact is that we have the capability to do this. And I'm not talking landing anywhere, a continuous flight. Real circumnavigation video. Yes, it's going to be inconvenient. We're going to have a plane retrofitted with the capability of mid-air refueling. Don't really even care about what aircraft it is, but we can do it. Let's apply the logic that John F. Kennedy used to explain why we were going to the moon, which I don't believe, and clearly you understand, I don't believe we ever did. We choose to do it not because it's easy, but because it's hard, right? Well, we can do this, right? Based on what is alleged with regards to the circumference of the Earth, we can absolutely do it. We can fly north to south. I don't care where you start. Let's start in Minneapolis, St. Paul, man, North America, and just zoop right over the top, back around the bottom, and land there. It's going to cost some money, but it could be done. It hasn't been done. Nobody's talking about doing it. To us, there's a reason for that.
Well, do you know what I like about all this conversation? At least you guys don't say it's going to crash like that first guy.
It'll probably run into a wall eventually, man.
Oh yeah, they fly into the firmament or whatever.
But at the end of the day, Swallow, I'm just taking a simple principle based on what I understand of our technology with regards to flight and applying it to the experiment, right? Could it be done? I think that most reasonable people would say yes. Now, it could be inconvenient, it could be expensive. There'd be some variables, but could it be done? I don't see any reason why in 2024 this could not be achieved. Yet here we are talking about it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I would like to see it done this particular way. Whoever does the next one, they're going to have to meet the requirements of flat earthers. But until then, we have what we have.
Well, it's not about meeting the requirements of flat earthers. People bring it out and say, "Oh, see, right here, we circumnavigated right here, north to south, south, and then south back to north," and they didn't do it. So it's not about meeting flat earthers' demands. It's about not taking a bogus route and trying to claim that you circumnavigated. Obviously, it was important enough to them to try and say that they circumnavigated until it was shown what their flight was. And then, oh well, it was bad weather. Yeah, of course it was. You didn't cross the continent, but it didn't stop them from trying to make us think that they circumnavigated the southern part of the globe. And so trying to turn it around and saying, "Oh, just to meet flat earthers' demands." No. We've been saying for a long time, nobody can circumnavigate. And then somebody went and said, "Oh, we just circumnavigated." Oh, well, no, we didn't actually. So don't throw it back on us. This isn't us
Look,
that tried to fool
I'm
you.
I'm sorry if you're offended. But are you making demands of this airplane?
What do you mean?
I'm sorry. Are you making demands of this airplane? Yes or no?
Swallow.
No, I'm not making demands of anything.
They're claiming.
Well, yes, but you are. You just did.
No, if you're going to tell me I circumnavigated the southern part of the globe,
I don't even know if they even said
and
the
then
word
I can
circumnavigated.
show,
They did a polar. They
then
did a
I
polar
can
orbit.
show that you in fact did not circumnavigate the southern portion of the globe. That is not me being offended. That is you lying about what you did.
So I haven't lied about anything. I haven't done it.
I'm not
I didn't do this
saying
one.
you specifically. You
The
weren't the
people-
pilot. You weren't the one that said
Good.
you circumnavigated. But
Okay.
the
I was.
pilot did, and he
Okay.
did
What
not
about?
circumnavigate.
Everyone
Okay,
just saw you misrepresent that as circumnavigate. Yeah.
Okay. What about
Well, I
Fram
think there
2?
needs to be a distinction made between circumnavigation with regards to the way it was defined, which we're talking about ships, right? Versus what we have now with airplanes in this example that Swallow's using versus what I proposed. Like, that would be true circumnavigation. You're literally linear and you're traversing the circumference. You don't have an obstruction like a landmass. That's what we're asking for. The definition of circumnavigation with regards to how that came to be is typically based on the way that lots of these maps were charted, and it's sailing from one point to another point to another point, but making it all the way around, right? And that's east to west. We want to see it north-south. Swallow, I'd love for you to be the pilot, man.
I agree, because if you're circumnavigating on a boat, you have to go down below South America and all that sort of stuff. So it's impossible.
No one is ever confused or have these issues when we're doing east to west circumnavigation. Why is it only north to south we're having these issues?
But even still, east to west isn't true circumnavigation.
Well, it goes around in a circle and you can do it. You can't go around in a circle north to south. That's why they can't do it. That's why they had to take that hard jackknife.
Yeah, true.
Dude, it's just like P-Dub's stick where he says, we can measure around the earth. And it's like, all right, who did it, P-Dubs? And you can't come up with anything because it doesn't exist. So
I was having a good day till you brought his name up. I was having a great day conspiracy till you mentioned that bitch. Don't talk about P-Dubs in this space, man. Fuck that guy.
Well, this guy's using the same logic as P-Dubs, so there you go.
No, not at all. Not at all. They were pole to pole. Hey, by the way, the word circumnavigation has got circle in it, right? And so Surely they've
No,
done
it's to
some
go.
form
It's
of
to
a
go
circle.
around something. So
Just because it has a
I'll
name.
give you that. It's to go around a thing, all the way around a thing. So yeah, maybe it doesn't have to do with the circumference, but with regards to what we're talking about, it does.
And they
Because
didn't go
there's an
around in a
alleged
circle.
circumference, and we're saying, yeah, it's not round, bro.
And they didn't go around in a circle. The dude made a jackknife. You even said he made a jackknife. And just because it's named, and just because it has circle in it, doesn't mean because that's what they said they did, means it what it is. Because with that logic, we have to call this a globe because they named GPS global positioning.
With that logic, you could just go 100 miles, go back about 50 times, and you're good. And you call that circumnavigation.
I don't know, man. I'm just a dumbass iron worker. I don't fly planes. I don't know.
Right. But circle's a circle, and they actually can't make jackknives in a circle. What's up?
What
Lily?
about Ram 2?
Hold on a minute. Let's get some of these hands real quick. What's up, Lily? Or if she can't hear us right now, we can head over to a nav.
Hi, hey, thanks for the mic. I'd be glad to take, I'm just some Eagle Scout boy from Texas that spent his first 9 years in the Marine Corps becoming a celestially qualified navigator on a C-130. So where I actually did circumnavigate the globe 3 times east to west. I have been to the North Pole. I've been to 48 countries in the world before I was 28. I only say this with my wholeheartedness. This is a psyop from whatever unit is out there to get you to believe something that's different than what your core belief is in order to change your mind on something else like Inception. They're trying to get you to change your core beliefs on what the foundation of what rock you live on, whether or not it's really flat or not. So with that being said, there is specific. I would love to take a navigation of any airplane, a C-130. We did the refueling in flight. I've done it. I have over 4,000 hours of flying. So I can tell you, we fly at a -2-degree down bubble at altitude for any airplane. So when I tell you this, it's not flat.
Okay, guys, there you have it. We might as well just pack up and go home.
Well, there you got it, man.
That's
So
funny. I always heard it was a +3 degree nose up the entire time you're in the air.
Yeah, it's a nose up there. Even when they land, they gotta go nose up on there. You got any? Seems how you've proved that we're a ball with your nose down airplane flights that you've been to 20.
Wholeheartedly at that.
Wholeheartedly. You got any evidence that we're orbiting the sun?
Yeah, we're orbiting the sun. So that's kind of astrophysics that, I could go into that, but it's not really my forte.
Do it.
I'd rather just stick with navigating.
Let's hear it.
What do you mean? I'm not an astrophysicist.
Well, do you know anything about how they've proven the motion of the Earth around the sun?
That's all accelerometers that they've proven from inside the Earth that shows there's a 15-degree movement from those accelerometers.
Is that like a spectrometer?
Wow.
Something like that.
I believe the technical term is an etherferometer.
So
Oh, good Lord.
Why would the Egyptians and all the people in the past have such accuracy to measure these things, even before we had a calculator?
How did the
That's actually a really good question. Why are stars still in a fixed position? When the ancient Egyptians that you invoked were navigating via the stars that haven't fucking shifted.
So, just out of curiosity, there, Nav, are you aware right now that we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour and orbiting the sun at 66,000 miles an hour, and also chasing the sun at 500,000 miles per hour, while the whole sun orbits the Milky Way at 1,000,000 miles an hour, while the universe expands at 4 times the speed of light? Are you aware of that?
Yes, sir. That's kind of what they say in the textbooks. But if I believe it, I'm still physically having a human experience.
So you believe all that, huh?
Well, I just believe in my moment. I'm, having a great night here on a Wednesday talking about something I really love passionately. So I appreciate the commentary.
Right on.
You love this passionately. Have you heard of Mickelson Morley?
Wait, what's that? Morally? What's that have to do with your passion of being a navigator?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking about a flat Earth versus globe Earth. My bad.
No, I was able to find Wake Island with nothing but the moon and pressure with a sextant and a wet compass. And it's only a mile wide in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. You fly 12 hours in a C-130 one direction and there's nothing but ocean. And you're able to find a mile wide line, an island. That's something to be commendable that you can do, before you're even 25.
Well, I would agree. I think that that's impressive, and that I think that navigation is important, especially topographical land navigation. When like GPS systems that are allegedly global positioning systems, which aren't, fail, like it'd be good to be able to use a magnetic compass and a map to figure out where the fuck you are. So I commend you for being able to navigate. But I do have a quick question here. Do you, based on your experience in the plane versus kind of what your senses tell you, do your senses tell you that, do they not? I should rephrase this. Do your senses not tell you, just based on your observations from being in the air, that shit isn't flat, like undisputably flat?
No, because we're always so the only reason why there is navigation is because of wind, right? Wind is the only thing that, whether you can just point your nose in one direction, well, then you're dealing with true north, magnetic north. You can always correct for that. But if you're dealing with wind, you have to crab into the wind. You're going left, down, left, right, while you still have a steady pressure. You might be thinking you're at 36,000 feet, but you're at 36,500, 34,300. You're going up and down over the ocean. So even in itself, you don't know if you're going on a flat Earth over a
Yeah,
flat plane because you're in an
that
airplane. That's a
I
stable
got I
platform.
got I got you on that, but that's not really what I asked. I asked if your senses tell you, based on your
Your
experience in being
senses
in the air. Do your
only
senses not
adapt to
tell
the
you that things
environment.
are flat?
If you're in an airplane, your environment is that airplane, right? If you have a flat, stable platform, you're going to think your senses of the environment that you put yourself in. So unless you are able to expand your consciousness all the way out to the far reaches of the Van Allen belts, then we don't know, right?
No,
That's
I
kind of the point.
disagree. You could stand on a basketball in your C-130 and everything would still appear flat. What you're
Yeah,
standing
if
on
you were
has
the
no bearing.
microorganism on a basketball, it might make sense. And is that ant, like the ant on a basketball, does he think the basketball's flat, or does he question his existence on whether it is flat or not?
Well, the basketball is
About his
clearly
thing.
not flat, but it seems to me that you were saying, hey, like I'm standing on a flat deck in a plane, so everything is going to appear flat. If that's not what you were saying, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but it seems a little ridiculous. What's under
You
your
asked if
feet
my
has no
senses,
bearing.
right?
Yeah. But more
And
or
so
less, I'm
my
not,
five
and I'm not
senses.
trying to like shit on you here, buddy. I'm
Oh
just
no,
asking, like, do you trust your senses? Because most of the people in this room have been told and taught through textbooks to not trust our senses and to trust quote unquote experts. And we're not really on that. A lot of the things that we're told were observed. We've done our own experiments, and we have shown that that something's wrong. Something is definitely wrong with these observations. So anytime I get an opportunity to actually have a conversation with somebody such as yourself, I like to ask how you feel about your own senses versus what you were taught in a textbook.
Oh, absolutely. I can appreciate that. And so that's kind of where we were taught inside our own training, whether it's high altitude, you go off oxygen, you're going to feel hypoxic, right? You don't know what that feeling is unless you've actually experienced it. So they put us through those tests to understand you cannot trust your feelings when inside a pressure chambers that has effects on your body. You do not trust them. You have to trust your instruments. So that's kind of the point where if you don't trust your instruments, you're going to die because you're going off your feelings.
Well, Yes, I can agree with you that there are certain fail safes put in place for you guys with regards to things like altitude, and a lot of people know about that. But I don't necessarily think that that's applicable with regards to what we're talking about. I mean, if you go underwater and you decide to I don't know, breathe in the water, you're probably going to drown, right? It just, I don't know. I'm gonna land there.
Testing 1, 2. Anything?
Ooh, we got a big bear up in here.
Nice. Yo, what's up, dude? I heard 15 degrees per hour or whatever. So anyway, I just wanted to touch on the old ether pherometer, as they say. So the 15 degree per hour measurements, so that's a kinematic position, right? That device can't tell you if the Earth is rotating at 15 degrees per hour
Mike,
or
check.
Yep, you're loud and clear, Stone, coming in hot.
Oh, my button is inverted. Isn't that whack? Okay, let me do it the other way.
Classic.
Yeah, thanks, Elon.
So let's see here. So the 15 degree per hour measurement with a ring laser gyro and or fiber optic gyro can't tell you if the Earth is rotating or if it's the sky rotating and it's translating motion by some mechanism, right? My preferred mechanism is the ether, right? So one of the ways that we could substantiate the causal mechanism of the rotation, right? Because in the relativistic mainstream paradigm, the apparatus, when you take it to a higher altitude, it shouldn't produce a higher velocity reading. It should maintain that 15 degrees per hour. Now, what actually happens when people have gone to altitude and done measurements, citing Yuri Galev here, Dayton Miller, and Picard back in the day, shout out to the homie Picard, the velocity increases at altitude, which the implication there is that the source of the rotation is not being made with the center of a ball, right? It's being influenced as you get higher in altitude. So it's like the translation of motion is coming from the sky. So what that would mean is there's a vertical velocity gradient on Earth that's the slowest off the surface. And as you get higher, it's fastest. That's a huge refutation to the globe moving, right? Because if it's the globe, and if relativity is true, there's certain that instrument is supposed to give specific readings at altitude, and that doesn't happen with that device. And that's one of the that's a huge mainstream situation there. Pretty paradigm breaking. Now, what'll happen is that especially in the case of Bob from a couple of years ago with the whole thanks Bob. I don't know if you've ever heard of that situation, but there was the flat earther gets a ring laser gyro and measures ball spin. And oh my God. Well, when you look into that whole situation, like the Sagnac effect is one of the craziest things in physics, and it completely refutes relativity theory and the mainstream interpretation of how light works on the face of it, like in an irreparable way, such that that's the reason they've had to hide the ether and only use devices that automatically correct and basically they know that they're supposed to get 15 degrees per hour, right? So that device, with its heating and other factors, it actually reads like, I think it was 18 or 19 degrees per hour. And it's always...
We lost him.
Lost me?
Him.
Oh, he dipped?
He's
well.
gone.
No, yeah, the guy you were explaining this to just checked out.
It's just more than he could handle.
All good. I'm almost done. This one's for the boys then. So anyway, that device...
Your question back up, though.
Oh, okay, cool. So that device reads 18 to 19 degrees per hour, and it gets auto corrected in to give it a nice flat 15. When people take interferometers that are not calibrated to give globular readings on the output, they make measurements that exceed what relativity theory predicts, and what shows that the Earth isn't the causal mechanism of the motion, and that it's coming from some translation of the sky. And if you have any questions about that before we move on to the celestial navigation stuff, I'm completely open. And I see Taylor with her hand up. What up, T? What up?
I was gonna wait for you guys to finish, but I basically had a question for the Globers. So I was just gonna ask, if there's any, let me see how to phrase this. Okay, so how do radio waves bounce off of non-solid objects? And have we ever been able to replicate that in a lab?
I concur. And at the highest elevation, where the air is the least dense, that seems to be where all the bouncing is going on. Physically speaking, nothing substantial there to justify the action they're alleging. A good point.
Refravity.
Hey, real quick. If it's possible, are you able to get New Perspective Dave up here? And because he would have some questions about how to land a plane on a spinning ball that maybe the C-130 pilot could elucidate.
Before that even happens, I'd like to meet Nav at his level of need here.
Gotcha.
Hey, Nav, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. I'm here. Go
Okay,
ahead.
you're talking about how you need to trust your instruments, right? You
Yes,
got
sir.
two in the dashboard in front of you that are the most sensitive gyros we make. And of course, they spin them on craft where it's a life-threatening situation if you've got shitty gear. So you got the best that there is just on top of your knees there. You got an HSI and another one to boot next to it, and you got some redundancy in the craft for angle of attack meters. Okay, but let's just deal with the first two. My question is, Nav, you said you did a lot of circumnavigation east to west, and that's great. I think that's awesome. But really, the operative question here is, after you took off, when was the next time you reset those gyros to where your level is where you're getting? Do you know what I'm saying? What is that distance? How far did you go before you set those back to level? My guess is next time you touched down. And my second part of that guess is that when you did, there really wasn't much of a change at all, was there?
I'd have to kind of stipulate, because that was all on the maintenance logs on what they did on the INS, the ONS, right? So basically, if I understand your question, if you're saying that the gyroscopes, once they get up to altitude, they need to be reconfigured for in-flight
No,
movement?
not for in-flight. No, I'm talking about how that you zero them before you back up. You know what I mean? You zero them before you get clearance to take off, and that part of your procedure for you, that doesn't really happen again until next time you need them, which is like when you get there. The question is, how many lines of longitude did you cross and there was absolutely no change on the gauge? I mean, you're flying barometrically. You were making that point earlier. I get that, but you're still flying allegedly with curvature. And,
Right. We still had
you
to correct
know,
for Coriolis. Yes, sir.
no,
We had to
not
correct for Coriolis
Coriolis,
at the altitude.
I'm not talking about Coriolis at all. I am talking about the gyroscopic rigidity and space factor here. Okay, that those HSIs are spinning the whole time, and you're going over the globe at 7.5 degrees per hour, right? If you're doing 500 miles an hour, 600 miles an
Yeah,
hour,
I
you're
was
doing
only
at
doing
least
250.
that. You're doing
250
at least
indicated.
that, right? So 15 to 10. So who cares which number that it is? It's a lot. It's a non-zero number, and something tells me that in your travels, that's not something you've been correcting for, and unwittingly, you just didn't realize it because nobody told you that's something you actually needed to correct for if we do live on a globe, which nobody talks about in the handbook. You know what I'm saying?
No, because all those are all in the site reduction tables based on performance as it has been calculated, has already been taken into account for that calculations, and it's not a part of the equation once you take off.
Site reduction? What? No. Well, what does
Site
site reduction have to do with any what I'm
So
talking about here?
no, the site reduction tables. Have you ever seen the performance charts of an aircraft that are site reduction tables where you have to configure everything into effect of what your performance is going to be in flight? Have you looked at those?
I have commercial copies of those for flights that I was working with.
No, of
Well,
military
I'm saying,
DoD site.
not only have I
I've
looked
got
at
a
that kind
DoD
of
secret
data.
clearance, bro. I know what I'm
Oh,
talking
you
about. Those
got
site
secret
reduction
clearance.
tables.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and
Site
exactly. You're
reduction.
going to make fun of me for it. So
As far
anyway,
as I'm
if you
concerned,
haven't seen the site reduction tables of what the performance is of the aircraft, you are talking out of your ass, sir.
what about every other aircraft out there that's not military that has exactly the same kind of hardware that I'm talking about? Everybody out
So
there
if
who's
you go
talking
into the
to what I'm
maintenance
talking
logs
about.
and you've checked the records, there's where your information is going to be. I can't provide that information because I don't work for those companies.
I'm talking like you're a NAVDAB, but you're obviously not a pilot, and that's the impression that I'm getting here. Is you're not
No,
the guy in
I
the
know
seat.
how to do everything. I have my FAA dispatcher's license. I've
I rest my
dispatched like
case. You're not the guy in
Yes.
the seat. I understand now why you're not answering the question the way you should be. I totally get that now. The
No,
point
I've done
being that the
both. I have
pilot,
4,000
hey
hours in the
Nav,
airplane.
Nav, you
Say,
gotta have
co-pilot.
respect for communicational standard here. There's a protocol. I'm sure you grew up with that kind of thing. It's when one guy's done talking, that's when you key in. You got that?
Anything to add? Or you want to jump to the hands?
I guess he's not going to add. So
No,
I
no,
mean,
no.
I
I'm
Is he
understand.
on mute?
Continue. Go
I
ahead,
understand that. See, now I'm talking. Now he has to talk. That's just uncanny. But the point is that he's not the guy that I thought I was talking
That's
to.
okay.
He's
You
not
can
the
play
guy in the
victim.
pilot seat, and that's okay too. So yes, we can move on. That's fine.
So are you you get all your answers there, Nav?
Oh, I didn't have any questions.
Right.
I'm not the one that had questions. What are you laughing at?
You had a sense of urgency about what other people believe and how you wanted to stop the
No, I did
damage.
not.
And there was an amazing quest that you laid down, all that happened before the age of 28. Now, I heard what you said, my man.
Yeah, those are
it's all a
facts.
psyop. It's all a
Those are
psyop.
facts.
That whole thing you were saying. Yeah, we remember.
And you said all this proved we're a ball.
It's that you were worried about people's belief, and I don't ever go there. I don't worry about belief. In fact, I speak against it in the channel that I manage on Telegram. It's rule number 1, by the way. We do not argue belief. We argue data. We argue empiricism. You know what I mean? We argue experience. We argue replicability, measurability. We argue the figures, not the belief. And I think that's really how you win this thing.
Facts over feelings.
Tangible versus intangible. Weird.
I agree.
And those are the kinds of videos that I produce, strictly. With the odd rocket tune thrown in.
Hey,
So
hey, Ray, real quick before we move on, Ruhif had a question for Navdad. If you could elucidate a little bit on what you meant by how the reduction tables would have any meaningful, or like how it would back up what you're saying, because he's not sure what it would mean. He's just
not a thing.
And then there was
site reduction tables I'm referring to are the actual site reductions that you have to computate to find out your position based on celestial bodies while navigating your position, whatever aircraft that is. I'm talking about those site reduction tables that have to use trigonometry and geometry and everything else to calculate your actual position.
Oh, wow. He used computate and figure eight, both not actual words. Nav, when you look at those site reduction tables, with respect specifically to the units of measurement on the observable side, as in the guy actually looking at the horizon, you'll find that those are all measured in minutes and seconds and stuff, aren't they?
By the celestial theory, yes, there are local hours.
The minutest fractions of a degree's worth of correction as far as how far a pilot can see anywhere at any altitude. But the actual site reduction tables you're talking about are mythical in terms of real world application. You've been learning these numbers for absolutely no reason whatsoever. You just don't realize it because you've done it for your whole career.
But
no, they got rid of my job in 2005. They no longer make navigators.
Way to help me out on my point there, Nav. Thanks, man.
In 2005,
No,
I
that's
thought
just
you were
true.
28.
No, I'm 48. That was 20 years ago.
this is what he did before he was 28, man. He bounced around from town to town and never messed around.
Glad I got a clarification.
And also went around, allegedly.
Are you able
how'd
to?
How'd your kids? How'd your wives? You know, that whole kind of thing.
Yo, if you're able to toss Ferret Weasel a mic, I think his name is, or Bruised Weasel or something like that.
Bruised Ferret?
Yeah,
I think
there
you're
it
talking
is.
about Bruised Ferret.
Bruised
Yeah.
Ferret, that's
Yeah, he's
Oh,
trying
really,
to
Nav?
show
The site
Triggered
reduction
Toby's in here.
tables that Nav was talking about there are actually originally a marine document. looking out at the horizon from crow's nest, etc. These site reduction tables have purely to do with atmospherical content, and especially when you're at extremely high elevation, these could not be less relevant.
You're also full of shit, Stone.
Look,
both of you are.
he's here. He's here.
Nice
Hang
rebuttal.
on. Play nice, ferret. Play nice, ferret. We can have a nice conversation.
All right. The site reduction tables. Site reduction tables. You have a site reduction tables. You have a dead reckoned position, and you have a GP of the star. Site reduction tables works out the angle that you should measure to the star, given your dead reckoned position.
It mentions a correction in the apparent angle that you measure, right? Based on altitude.
That's in the almanac.
Yeah,
no, that's in the almanac, not in the site reduction.
And air quality.
For the third time, Stone, that's in the almanac, not in the site reduction tables.
Are those not the factors that are changing the value in the tables? Are they get any other influences than that?
In the almanac, yes, not the site reduction tables.
As in, no, there are no other factors, even than the ones that I mentioned, that affect those figures in any way.
Right.
That's
those
what you're
figures.
saying. Thank you.
Those figures are in the almanac, Stone. They're not in the site reduction tables.
I just acknowledged that and continued the point, right? We were moving past that, if you're capable.
I can talk like a retard as well.
Well, you work on it as soon as you get to fucking figuring out what people are saying, my man, instead of just being busy worrying about what you're going to say next.
I did like the strong opening with "You're a retard." That was.
Oh, I said he's full of shit. Yeah.
Well, we've been through liar, retard, and full of shit so far. It's up to you, really, how long
you are a liar.
Tolerate this.
Let me check the
we could get a little bit harder of an R on the retard though. Like, I'd appreciate that.
It was a strong opening gambit.
Yeah, well, hang on, I've got to look up your lies. One was not identifying that mountain in the Jay Tolan footage. That's one lie. And there was
That's
another
a
one
lie?
recently.
Not agreeing with your assertion about the use of a model to verify something in real life. Boy, that makes me a liar? That makes you a retard.
A liar? I can talk.
I appreciate the hardness of that art, Stone.
Yeah. I won't
Anybody takes a little teensy bit of look at the logic that this guy uses, we're so done.
Where are we? Hang on.
Hey, Ruick, how you going? It's Swally. How you going?
The only logic I've heard so far was insulting you.
Yeah, I wanted to say hello. I've been to say hello to you for a while. Bloody awesome stuff.
Thank you. What was the other thing that Stone lied about? I forget. One was not refusing to identify that mountain in the foreground of Jay Tolan.
So you guys can hear how that constitutes a lie.
Yes.
What mountain did get identified?
We were talking about a piece of software that he brought to the table that I was supposed to bow down to. And since I did not, I'm a liar.
Oh.
Okay. The actual facts of what happened. So Jay Tolan has some footage looking southwest-ish from Texas, I think. So we know exactly where Jay Tolan was and in what direction he was looking. And I had a still shot from the video compared to a 3D render from Deutschler or something. And there was a clearly identifiable mountain in the foreground, which matched perfectly with the terrain. Stone refused to identify that mountain as the one we were looking at because he knows once he did that he would have to acknowledge that what he was looking at in the background was not what Jay Tolan said it was.
Okay, now what we're going to do now is we're going to back right on up. We're going to get to the context and the situation all of this took place in. It was at a video release party on the Discord server where I was releasing a new video, a couple of thoughts about Google Earth, not a couple thoughts about Jay Tolan, not a couple thoughts about, gee, we can see Cabo, none of what this ferret is talking about was focused on at the time. None of it bore any direct relevance to the content and the purpose of that video we were there to see that night. In fact, it was the very last frame in a 5 or so minute video. That there was a great deal of content that this jackass would never even focus on because it would render, like I said at the time, irrelevant everything he's pointing out about this situation. That I really don't care whether or not we were looking at Cabo or any other fucking hill. The point of the video was entirely separate from that. Therefore, I really didn't give a shit what he was talking about at the time, and I certainly wasn't going to step aside from the proceedings to spend half an hour looking at his choice of rendering software for topological purposes of analysis and decide on whether I think that's Cabo or not. I don't care, Glenn. You got it?
Okay, so I've posted my link to the video that I made about it.
Okay, so he made a video about it. He devoted his life to it, and it could not be less relevant to what we were actually focused on when we were watching that movie. Nobody cares but you, Glenn.
Right. Anyway, so I've posted that in the chat in the Megatron if you want to see how much Goliath Stone is. And I actually forget what the other one was.
Just bug on down to the Looney store and buy a twat button for my, like, put it on my account, okay? Because it's going on your hat, buddy. Twat.
Okay. Anyway, anyone's interested can click the link.
Thank you. I think we've reached some nice ground on this one. We'll have to come back to it now.
No, I don't think we should ever come back to it. There is nothing to come back to. This is the deal here, Alan.
Yeah, it was a figure of speech or whatever, you know, just like tomato, tomato.
I think we can move on a little bit if it's okay. What's up, Ken?
Yeah, I wanted to ask Alan about, you know, we're talking about, you know, whether it's the Earth moving or the stars, and you said that you prefer the ether, but didn't Mach have something on translation of motion?
Yeah, he said that the angular momentum of the universe would provide the same mechanism. But like kind of like I guess it would be like akin to you know, waving your hand over water and it starts to ripple with that motion, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, well, and while Ruhif is here, last time I spoke to you, I asked you if there was an equation where you could predict, we were talking about the Canigou thing, where you could predict instead of post-dict what type of refraction was going on, and you said you could do it if you could be at 1,000 foot, but you never actually said anything about the equation that's used and why 1,000 feet.
Anything over 300 feet, the data says that the refraction is pretty stable and predictable. So yeah, 300 feet's enough. But yeah, if you want to just use a, sorry.
If the observation is at over 1,000 feet, shouldn't it be pretty stable?
Yes, that's why we use 7/6R.
But it's not enough for Canigou, is it?
Yeah, matches quite well.
What about Canigou? What?
He's saying that 7/6R is enough refraction for the Mount Canigou observation.
And we get that twice, 2 times a year, every year, forever? That exact
No, we get it about 3 or 4 months of the year.
Did you work on the demonstration book?
To refract a silhouette with its light source?
Yeah, I made a video about this
and
about 2 weeks ago, I think.
Refraction has got to be like 18,000 feet of refraction.
No, incorrect.
Actually, it is, because that mountain is behind 18,000 feet of actual physical Earth curvature, no matter what.
Wouldn't the whole Earth curve up? Like, wouldn't everything else refract too, making it like a mirage? Like it stick up higher in the air, like everything, even the ground.
And somehow, some way, the refraction, that the mountain should be leaning because that's what a ball does. It doesn't refract it that.
Hang on, we've got three claims here first.
With the ground?
Hang on.
But wait, isn't it level like with the ground around it? So like if it's just refraction, shouldn't we see more distortion of the actual mountain and ground?
Hang on. We've got claims here first that there should be, like, it's behind 18,000 feet of Earth curve.
That's what it is.
What's the hidden amount?
Well, as we look at this observation here, and you guys say hidden amount. There's at sea level, that mountain should be hid behind.
Right. Are we at sea level?
Well, I'm saying on actual Earth, no matter how high you go up, the Earth stays the Earth, right?
Right. Are we at sea level?
I didn't say anything about where we're at. I said the actual Earth. I said the actual Earth at sea level, that mountain is behind 18,000 feet of Earth curvature.
Right.
No matter
we're not at sea level, are we?
How high you are. I know you guys want to say elevation changes your angle, but how high you go up does not change the shape of the Earth.
Right. But it changes how much we see of the mountain, right?
I didn't say it didn't. I didn't say you're magician stuff. I said on the Earth itself, at sea level, at 163 miles, there is 18,000 feet of Earth curvature.
Okay. But we're not.
I can see Eiffel Tower from
As you want to say, what's the hidden curvature? What exactly are you looking for here?
I'm asking you whether you've ever analyzed the observation and said, is this possible on a globe? It sounds like you haven't.
Are you kidding me? Everything I just stated with all the facts and figures, you don't think I've looked into this?
Okay, so what's the hidden amount?
What the hell is hidden amount?
Holy shit.
Tell me what hidden amount is.
Do you know what I'm asking?
No, I don't. That's why
I thought you said you've analyzed it.
I want you to explain what hidden amount means.
Okay, if I get higher up, right? If I get higher up.
Here's the thing, bro. I told you if you're at 163 miles at sea level, this mountain 163 miles away, that is 9,000 feet tall, is going to be hidden behind 18,000 feet of Earth curvature. So I'm not sure.
We're not at sea level, are we?
I didn't ask you again where the hell we're at. No matter how high you go, the Earth stays the same. You know that, right?
Right. But you understand if I get up on a mountain, I can see over the curve, right?
I am trying to establish a baseline of how much actual physical Earth curvature this mountain should be behind at 163 miles.
Right, from sea level.
From sea level, and once we can establish that
we're not at sea level, are we?
So, bro, you're not even listening to this.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not. You keep on wanting to chop in and say stuff. At sea
you're
level,
just making a straw man. We're not.
Bro, first of all, I'm not making a straw man, and you keep on cutting me off, and it's pissing me off. Shut the fuck up, man. At sea level, no matter what, at sea level, 163 miles away, that mountain that's 9,000 feet is going to be hidden. The base of that is going to be 18,000 feet of Earth curvature. No matter what. That's a fact of the matter. This is your Earth geometry. You agree to that or what?
Sorry, I wasn't listening because I was muted.
Of course you weren't listening. Why would you want to actual
You have to establish fundamentals before moving on to the next step.
Yeah, I've agreed to the 18,000 feet at sea level, but we're not at sea level. So move on.
Hey, sorry, can I just say something, Brian? You might have that much drop, but the amount that's hidden in between is different.
So that means the refraction, no matter how high you're up, it needs to come up 18,000 feet. No matter what your perspective, that has to come up 18,000 feet.
So you understand if we get higher,
hold on one second. Yo,
Stone. You would depend on refraction for that.
Hot micing, brother.
And you have no demonstration showing this.
Ignore refraction for now. We're just establishing that if we get higher, we can see over a curve.
Incorrect.
Who's typing?
Yeah, it's
By the way,
Stone.
if you're on a PC, if you're unmuted, if you're muted, it has you as unmuted. So you have to
who's
go
typing?
backwards.
Our bad. It's this bloody mic icon that's inverted for me. I keep ignoring that. It's
so you can
inverted.
hear me now? That's crazy.
Yo,
See, you
Shane, you're
man.
welcome.
Stone's in Australia
Yeah,
as far as
I've been
that goes. He's
typing.
upside down.
I confess to that. But
Okay, all right, I get it.
Icon.
Hey, all right, you just
Yeah.
fixed everyone. Thank you, whoever said that.
Right
Just
on,
invert your.
Yeah, Shane. I
Yeah,
can hear
Stone's sitting
Shane.
in Australia right now typing. His fucking mic's upside down. He can't help it.
Wait, can you guys hear me? It says I'm muted.
PZO, we can hear you.
See, the button is inverted. Thanks, Elon.
So if I do this,
Yeah, if you do that, you go
Now
bye-bye.
you're muted.
Fuck.
What the fuck?
Discord people. Twitter's
okay. So literally, if you have a mic mute symbol, it means you're unmuted, and if you don't, it means you're muted. Okay.
Dude, that is
Indubitably.
so challenging. Okay, we're fine.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to say we can settle this like really quick. I will just do it right now so you guys can stop arguing ad infinitum. What is the height of Canigou?
9,000 feet.
9,000 feet?
Can we metric it?
It's about 9,100 and change. Put it at 92.
9,200 feet. Okay. How high is the observer on the mountain that's looking at it?
1,000.
Varies, but yeah, the one I usually use is about 1,000 feet.
And how far away are they?
160.
200 and, you go.
How far?
163 miles.
That's all?
That's it.
Okay.
That observer height, that's looking at 10,130.
Yeah. So at 163 miles away from an observer height of 1,000 feet, the tip of Canigou being 9,200 feet, right? There's 10,300 hidden feet. So like your line of sight would be shooting about 1,100 feet over the top of Canigou.
If you ignore that we have an atmosphere, yes.
Okay. I thought you said that if you went, the purpose of going to 1,000 feet was to say that the atmosphere is stable.
It's stable. Does that mean no refraction, or does that mean stable refraction?
Well, we're observing its silhouette during this whole time.
Using standard refraction, there's 8,080 hidden feet, so you'd be able to see the top 1,100 feet of the mountain.
Yes.
The top 1,100 feet with standard refraction. Now,
Correct.
In these images of Canigou silhouetted against the sun, what do we see? We see it all the way almost to the ground.
Really? That sounds like you've pulled that out of your ass and had done zero analysis.
He's about to start counting picture pixels.
How many pixels did you count though before making that statement?
Okay, hold on a minute.
All right, you better FTFE it and pull
I
out a
thought I
tape
had it
measure.
up there. I'll post it up there, and you can see this stuff in real time. This is undeniable. And basically, what you're saying is we're looking at an illusion. It's not real. We're refracting a shadow with its light source behind it.
You're refracting the sun and the shadow from the sun. I didn't know you could refract shadows, but
hang on a sec.
He said 4 months. It's 2 days that they're observable. So I just wanted to clear up that discrepancy.
2 times a year.
Yeah, he said 4. He said something about 4 months.
Well, it's like in February and September where you can see it.
No.
Just because the only reason you can see it is because the sun's setting behind it, and so on those 2 days, refraction magically puts it in the same exact spot. It's
you're not just refracting the light, though. See, when you see something, you're seeing light, right? He's like, in order to like make his argument coherent, he would have to say that it's refracting the light and the shadow because it's the shadow also.
If you're going to put words in my mouth, I'm going to interrupt.
I didn't say you said it. I said in order to have a coherent argument because the shadow is also projected.
The shadow is an absence of light. All right. I made a video about Canigou about 2 weeks ago. What is happening?
You made a video about your drawing?
About your drawing? That's funny because I actually put it up there in the jumbo so you can actually look at the silhouette there and with the Earth curve calculator, the height, the observer height, all the whole 9 yards for you there, man. The fact of the matter is you're trying to invoke refraction that brings all of that up. I need to see that in an experimental type of situation.
Hang on, just post another picture. There we go. So I've posted 2 pictures on the.
And also we also have another world record line of sight in the Guinness Book of World Records of mountains 275 miles away.
Yep. But given the number of claims that have been made in the last 5 minutes that I have not been able to respond to, let's get back to Canigou. All right. Someone talked about the silhouette refracting. All right. So all that's happening here, so the light coming from the sun enters our atmosphere and then takes a curved path to the observer. That is refraction. Okay. Part of that light is being blocked by the mountain. That causes the silhouette. It doesn't matter where along that path the light is blocked. It could be below the horizon. It could be in front of the horizon. It still makes a silhouette. Is that understood?
Keep going.
Is that understood? That the light is just blocked by the mountain?
The shadow is just from the sun being behind it, but there's nothing for the shadow to land on. The only reason you can see it is because the sun is shining around it. So the shadow is still the mountain itself.
Yep.
I can actually see the shadow of that mountain being cast on the ground in front of it, in front of those two peaks in that picture. So how is it casting a shadow on the flat surface in front of me, which I can have I have a direct view to the ground? You'd say obviously the ground's visible, but the mountain's not. So how is the mountain that's behind the curve of the earth casting a shadow directly onto the ground that's not behind the curve of the earth?
Again, the light is taking a curved path. All right. So it doesn't matter where along that path the light is being blocked.
And all we're looking for is you to.
Did you even hear Piezo's question?
I'm not sure I understand his question. He said he sees the mountain in front of the
It's casting a shadow onto the water in front of it.
The shadow is
I'm not saying that.
projecting into thin air.
So if I look right now with my eyeballs at this picture, I see Canigou. There's a left peak, a middle left peak, and a middle right peak. Okay.
Which picture are you looking at?
It says Mount Canigou on it in like a Microsoft Paint highlighter or something. Do you not see it in the Jumbotron? No curve detected.
Oh, Brian's put it. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Got it.
So there's in that where the sun is, around the left edge of the disk of the sun, there's a left peak, and then in the middle of the sun, there's a mid left peak and mid right peak. Okay.
Yep.
In front on the ground, or I don't know if that's earth or water, whatever's in front of it, on the ground in front of the mid left and mid right peaks, you can see the shadows being cast from the mountain.
You're talking about right in the middle of the sun below Canigou?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's an inferior mirage. It's not
The
not a
shadows
shadow.
are an inferior mirage.
That's an inferior mirage. See how there's a line underneath? It's not a shadow. It's an inferior mirage. Can you see how there's a line underneath the mountains?
Yes.
Yes, that's an inferior mirage. Do you think
Okay.
the mountain
What about
has like
the
a
shadows,
slice through it?
though? I'm talking
It's not a
about the
shadow. That's an inferior mirage of the top of Canigou.
You think that part that's cast down across that line is the top of Canigou?
Yes, it's an inferior mirage.
So you think the entire mountain is being like so let me get this right. Hold on. What you would be saying then is that little part that's cutting the line is actually the true tip of Canigou that we can just barely see the tip of. That's like the 1,100 feet that's actually visible. And everything above that, everything above that is the entire mountain being miraged and lifted above the horizon.
It's being
Hold on, let me
refracted
just
up.
read this.
It's not being
It's very-
miraged up.
It's very important. If I could just read this, it's very pertinent. Okay, so atmospheric refraction in the same layer of the atmosphere. Okay, so if you have atmospheric refraction, normally it's because it's going through different levels of the atmosphere. But if it happens in the same layer of the atmosphere, which is what we're viewing, this would happen due to a variability in temperature and density within that layer.
Oh, right. The atmosphere has a continuous gradient. I've got like 1 minute left and then I've got a 15-minute Zoom call. Give me a sec.
You going to
Because they're
Glover's
looking
Anonymous?
parallel, right? I mean, they're looking straight ahead. They're not looking
Right.
down.
And that will still cause the light to bend downwards.
Wait, he called that an inferior mirage. Don't they invert the object?
Yes.
So why is the mountain not being viewed upside down?
That little sliver is upside down. Yes.
Yikes! Show me the sliver in question, Rue. Where's your
So
sliver?
that's
pic?
the only slice in the that's the only slice in the entire visual vertical span we're seeing where the
Yes.
refraction is of any consequence.
It's the only inverse density gradient in the image. close to the surface. Like I
Only
said,
tiny little
when
slice.
you are looking close to the surface, you can't predict refraction. So occasionally there's an inferior mirage in these things. All right,
But
I'll be
that's
back in.
only at the end of the observation point, not up where the observer is at 1,000.
So if everything above that line, Ruhif, is a mirage,
Not a mirage, no.
Yo, how do you get to a trend
whatever?
to stop doing dumb
if,
things?
if everything, let's not play semantics games. If everything above that line is not actually physically where we're looking at it, okay, that's not the true position of the mountain. That's just an illusion, okay?
Correct.
Then where is the real part? Because according to the Earth curve calculator, with standard refraction, I should see the 1,100 feet tip of the mountain.
Yes,
Okay,
that's
so
roughly
where's
what
the
you're
tip
saying.
of the mountain that's actually physically real that I'm looking directly at, and it's real, not an
But
illusion?
you're not looking directly at it. You're seeing it refracted up. All right. Anyway, I've got to go.
No,
I'll be back
no.
in.
Okay,
I'll be
but
back
where
in
is it?
15 minutes. Back in 15
Make
minutes.
sure you come back with a demonstration.
Nah, just don't come back.
Guys, I think we should add Stone to the Witsit list of people Ruhif's not allowed to speak to. Also, this is why I don't speak to Ruhif about ground-based observations, just so everybody knows.
This was just a painfully pedestrian, banal, dead conversation with a guy like that.
Where's the what's that one mountain that they can see like Peak de Finestre from like 270 something miles away? What is that one?
Brian, you got the photo on that one.
Yeah, hold on a second. I think it's the Pyrenees Mountains. Bear with me one moment.
Yeah, you guys don't like Ruth, eh? I think he's bloody awesome.
I like Ruhif.
He's articulate and he's to the point.
He's my favorite.
And if he
debate buddy.
talks with enough confidence, he can convince himself.
Talking with confidence doesn't make you right.
He spends no time analyzing what you're trying to explain to him on the fly. He is only waiting for his next ability to correct you on something that he recognizes as incorrect according to his own narrative, etc. It's so annoying.
I just put that world record photo up there in the jumbo.
How do other Globers debate Stone? And could you compare it in a contrast scenario and show me how?
Microphone check.
Yeah, I guess he just does it more times per week in front of me than any others because I don't watch any of them. He just comes in like a recurring virus. Yeah, I hear you, Alan.
You're good, man.
Oh, does it work now or was it not working earlier?
It wasn't
good now.
Okay, so yeah, I have to mute now too. I have to dude. So I was not. Yeah,
so
I just joined the boys, so it was not inverted for me, and now it is inverted. Very cool.
Okay, so my phone died, but I was actually reading the conditions where atmospheric refraction would have to happen, and it would be a variability in density or temperature. And I'm not sure how far away that was, but I do not believe there would be a variability in temperature. Also, the inferior mirage would apply to the same thing. It would have to be a different temperature gradient that is, or density gradient that is going through to have atmospheric refraction on the same level of atmosphere.
Yeah, that's why he sticks at 300 to 1,000 feet, right? Because that's a different layer, and because right at the surface is where you get the temperature differentials, steam, bath, all those differentials. So that's why he says it's quote unpredictable, or in reality could be damn near inverted, right? You'll never know. That's why he says 300 to 1,000. Anyway.
People
But
forget
if anybody knows the temperature variability in that area, and you could say the temperature variability is not much, if any, then you could say, well, there's no atmospheric refraction that could happen here, because atmospheric refraction only happens because of bending of light going through two different mediums. But if you're on the same level of atmosphere, you're not going to have that bending due to two different densities or mediums, because you're not going through different layers.
He's saying that there's going to be a minimum 3 on a piece of curvature, and you're right. But people forget about how the term refraction is actually a form of distortion of a light path. It's not something that helps you see something in the distance more clearly, rather the opposite. And that, like any other distortion, you can tell that what we're looking at in the image you guys have been looking at all night isn't refraction, is because it's crispy clear. It's undistorted.
We should be seeing out there.
Obvious.
We should be seeing out there what we see in the desert on a mirage.
Yeah, it's all wavy and hazed out and decolored and interspersed. Distorted is the word, and it's completely the opposite here. I don't know why you guys are spending time on this.
If the ocean was brown, it would look the same as in a desert.
How dare you?
I just want to say, he never addressed either the 2-day thing, how it magically is 2 days of the year is observably predictable.
Well, that's because the sun spins around and orbits around and shoots around the galaxy as it expands.
Yeah, but anyone engaging in this conversation, first of all, know that Ruhiv is like the king of refraction. Also, he will invoke a sphere of infinite radius. So if you want to get in that discussion, you're welcome to. You notice I never do, though.
He has no regard for the opacity of air.
Everything's just the perfect right amount of refraction so we can see it at our eye level and it doesn't look curved. We have the coolest refraction ever. I mean, it just gives us everything.
Refraction is the gayest thing the globe ever invented. All right, it's like the magic wisher coin in a fountain. Like, oh, how far was that over the cord? We couldn't see it. Hold on, and it's back just like that. Man.
Refraction.
Who was that lad who came up with the old refraction coefficient to get us back to the globe no matter what?
I think it was some super smart dude named Gaussian coefficient. I think it's something like 0.13. I think it's for general atmospheric conditions. I think it never actually applies and they throw it out ubiquitously. But anyway.
That rings a bell.
Did you ever get him to address the beams, man?
Beams, he's
working what happened? What happened with the other addressing the beams? Was there a solid refutation that you guys found out, or was it more just nothing?
No.
Talking about the video dude made?
Yeah.
He basically clung on to in Alan's early iteration of the thing about how he had like applied the number to Stolberg instead of Cleve, and then tried to like super highlight like minor errors in like the early iteration of Alan's presentation, and then just give a general hand wave explanation. It's like, see guys, but what we're dealing with here is the equisignal beam. That's made from the intersection of two beams, so it works just fine, and then gave absolutely zero numbers. Gave 0 numbers when we already actually have the numbers for the equisignal beam and the beam width, and
nice.
Doesn't help them because the way that the Germans wrote their literature up, they didn't give any numbers for the left or right hand beam. The only number they gave was the equisignal beam because that's the only part that mattered.
Yeah.
I mean, the left and right beam could be as wide as you want it to, for all intents and purposes. That's irrelevant to the way that the targeting beam worked, which was the center. So
he did help though. He came and put a big band-aid on their good old like licking like their knee split, right? And they were crying, and he's like, "No, there." He came over and he's like, "It's okay, guys, it works. It's fine." Like he just said it and didn't provide anything, didn't do anything, but he did have an impact, right? There's a big collective sigh of relief from the Globers now.
Oh yeah, and then he went to a paper. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, enjoy the sigh of relief until Tuesday, lads.
What's Tuesday?
Tuesday will be the follow-up presentation with all the accurate numbers that Pizio is talking about right now. That explicitly shows how it's not possible to work on a globe.
Dude thinks we're not going to do another presentation and make a day of it and nail every single detail. The guy's not something else.
Dude thinks I'm not going to make a truncated PDF for the boys so everybody can just read off of it directly to articulate the argument.
Yeah, and then dude went and like pulled up some paper that somebody wrote last year. Actually, apparently people are still making papers about this stuff, but some paper someone had wrote last year and was like, hey, actually a newer system that they used after that was a shorter range and a higher frequency band. It was so accurate that they had to use 5 log tables to account for the non-perfect sphericity, the oblateness of the Earth, because it's not perfectly spherical and it's more flattened at the poles. So they definitely accounted for that in real life.
That was a Keith refutation. He listed another shorter, different system that somehow did have to account for curvature based on the manual.
So check it out. The X-Garot system, it required a more sensitive radio system or whatever. So like they didn't have the components to add it in, so they didn't really use it at that time when they were Kanika binding. But then anyway, what the deal is with this 0.05 degree bearing, had to account for Earth curvature log table stuff, right? Shane, it's a literal radio deflection of the vertical. They're claiming to dial it in, right? It's not. It was that the place wasn't quite at the exact lat long. They had to make like arc second corrections essentially, which is like they're basically invoking a deflection of the vertical of the radio tower, dog. So, you know, of what would be like, you know, fractions of arc seconds over whatever. It's literally just some stuff they ad hoc'd in, I think.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Or
when you're
like,
deflecting the vertical of your radio signals, you're definitely ad hocing some shit.
Well, what I was thinking too, right? You know how they had to deflect verticals to make the lat long system work, right?
Yeah, to get them correction.
So it's like,
back up.
yeah, it could be just so precise that that's the like it because the actual physical location is slightly different than, you know, based on deflecting the vertical. That it's like, oh yeah, they actually had to turn it a little bit further to compensate. So it's not even that it would be a deflection of the vertical; it would just be it's like physically off a little bit.
A deflection of where they actually are compared to the lat long coordinate system as
yeah, so it is a deflection of vertical, like
as a result from compounding deflection of the verticals. Yeah, so it's not even like, because it's a timing radar system, right? It's not like it fucking would tell you anything about the contour of the Earth as they're flying over it. But like, yeah, what they're saying is how they got the bearing to deadhead it was a deflection of the vertical correction, which is hilarious, bro. Because what was it? Even at 220 miles or whatever, it's still a problem for the accuracy. They can't have it, but we can have it. So I'll take it.
Okay. Yep, that'll be ours.
Okay. All right, hold on. I got to jump in here. I'm hearing all this stuff, and I'm not sure that if you guys are really catching all what's really going on here. I mean, I'm going to take it back to, like, say, earlier times, and the earlier times talked about, either there was a fishbowl or a place that's flat, but yet there hasn't been somebody to come out and say, hey, look, I found the freaking end of this place. And if it's supposed to be a circumference of a flat around it somewhere, who knows that word around, right? You'd think there'd be a Marco Polo or a Christopher Columbus. Somebody would have found this freaking end by now, but no one has. And the funny thing is, I know everybody who's in here possibly has never flown on the Concorde. I did. And I'll tell you right now, I wasn't sitting up in first class. I was sitting way down at the back, right? And you know something? I had a major flat wing to look over. Remember, I'm using the word here, flat. A flat wingspan to look over it. And then, what do you know? What I see? A curvature. Couldn't believe it. Saw with my own eyes. I'm like, yes, well, that shouldn't be a problem. Now there's curvature outside.
So did you measure the curvature of the window you were looking through?
Oh, no. It's not about the window. Window is glass. It's not giving you an optical illusion. What, you want it to be no windowless? Like, you know, yes, I can breathe at 60,000 feet. Of course,
fact,
yeah, sure. No I'll put on a mask and then, wait a second, I got to put on another set of glass in front of my eyes to see this, right? Oh, no, come on, guys. Really? Seriously? No, it's
more than one thickness of
hold on.
It's a round part of it.
Yo, 1 second,
It's a round part of it.
Since we're interjecting,
if you're going to jump into
that. Can you hear me? Since we're
you gotta
Bro.
Is it working now? I can't tell if I'm talking or not.
I can hear you, Alan. You're good.
Okay.
You're good.
Yeah, since we're interjecting anecdotal evidence, my mom's best friend was on the last flight of the Concorde, and she said it was flat as fuck.
There you go.
She was in first class. She won an all expenses paid thing. It was a radio sweepstakes thing that she won, and it was because they were going out of business with it. And she said it was flat. So now what do we do, homie? I guess we'll go back to the radar. Hold on 1 second.
Hold on 1 second. You're saying
Stop! 1 second.
Bro,
you came in and interjected a bunch of dog shit. We're talking about a radar system that requires specific geometry of a plane flying through it, where it's not going to be going around curvature. Number one. Okay, so when you come in here and you're like, I look through a plane window, and shut the fuck up. My mom's best friend did the same thing too and said it was flat. So now what? That's nothing. Nobody gives a fuck. Go back to the Go back to the conversation we were having before and pay attention. If you don't have anything on that and you want to talk about some anecdotal dog shit, bro, you can go find another fucking space.
Exactly.
And just before we, wrap it back up to the topic we were talking about, just so you know, Rick Ford, being nice to you, the steel man of your model, it sounds like you're a Glober, the steel man of your position is that you would not even be able to see curvature even at over 300,000 feet. It wouldn't even be visible. Like, we've got like the authority figures on your side saying that on national television multiple times. So if you think that you flew in an airplane and saw it, you're just deceived.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you're
good,
pass, bro. That was last year's
Wow.
technology.
I've never heard those channels before.
good jet fuel hoax.
Yeah,
Proof.
yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson, homie. Anyways, talking about beams. Yeah, I look forward to it, Alan. I think that once you actually show the specific numbers that he was afraid to, because he wanted to make all these claims and then say that it worked and wouldn't actually show the curve calculator, because we actually have the beam divergence angle 0.3 degrees. You multiply that out at the distance from Cleve to Derby, and you end up getting the accuracy of the bomber that they reported. Like the tangent 0.3 degrees of the distance equals like 2.26 kilometers, and they reported 2 kilometers accuracy. So,
So
same
you're
number,
telling
right?
me with plain trig, you matched the same prediction as their accuracy? You matched it?
Yeah. With plain, yeah. Just doing a triangle, bro.
Well, that shouldn't work.
Yeah, and the other thing is if I didn't use plain trig, if I just did plain trig for the triangle to the tangent to the horizon, and I didn't account for the drop, I'd get the same number, but that beam would be like 40,000 feet in the air. So,
Oh no,
actually,
that's not
60,000.
good.
Sorry, 60,000 feet in the air. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, my bad.
and so the bomber is being only able to fly at 19,000 feet or thereabouts. This doesn't put them in range of the beam radar, the geometry of that, correct?
Yeah, you'd need to bring the beam down by another 20,000 feet for them to receive it. So if you've got 4 miles of 4 miles of spread to throw in there, that'd be fine. Except if you spread out the beam by 4 more miles, you have to add 4 more miles to the accuracy figure. So you'd be, accurate to not within 2 kilometers, but accurate to within like 8 kilometers. So, or 6 kilometers. What is 2 kilometers in miles anyway? 1.2. So you'd be no longer accurate to within a mile. You'd be accurate to within 5 miles. So it would have defeated the whole purpose of the system. It wouldn't have worked as reported.
There it
You
is.
literally can't have an accuracy of that small at that distance on a globe.
Unless, now there is one way you could do it on a globe, right? Here's how you would have to do it. You would have to vaguely claim that you're referencing some guy's paper about radio propagation that supports how a line of sight beam could work over 451 miles and 333 miles respectively.
So you're saying this beam is going to go up there and hit this magical field?
No, that was too specific, Brian. You weren't listening.
Brian,
you have to be vague and lightly
Brian,
inferred.
It's just going to go up and around.
Way too specific. You just need to drop a name and say an unpublished paper, and then you're good to go. If you get into specifics,
certainly don't promise anything. Yeah,
yeah.
Specific.
You don't want to lock us into a number value. You do, God forbid.
Oh, that's funny, man. That's funny.
Yo, Ruhif hath returned. He's requesting a mic.
We're working on it. Let's switch to Ken, Lily, and Tippy over here, and see if we can get some more. Who's Bruce Ferret? Are you saying Bruce Ferret's looking for a?
You masochists!
Can we just name him Ruhif? Who the hell is a Bruce Ferret? Do you think that's clever? I kind of hate you for that. Stop being gay.
Ferret face, man.
Like Bruce Ferret thinks it's funny.
I think.
The profile pic is hilarious. I'm not gonna lie, but other than that, subpar.
Weak game there. What's up, Ken?
No, I was just gonna say, you remember earlier today somebody was saying that those beams were bouncing off the ionosphere and then bouncing off the water and bouncing their way all the way over.
Yeah, coming down.
Cool story, bro.
Water,
yeah,
the seashell, whatever, man, a piece of glass.
Seashell.
As long as if it comes down here, it can bounce off of anything. We don't care. But as long as it only.
I heard it can bounce. It can bounce off of whale song.
Dude, whale sonar actually pushes it further. It pushes it further, and actually a wave of gravity wave constructive interference. So when they intercede that way, it makes it go further and faster. That's real.
That's right. It amplifies it.
It's what angular conservation of momentum ball style.
Echolocation,
it's
constructive wave
all
interference.
about whale resonance.
Well, I'll just sleep. I'll leave my question for Bruce Ferret, and he can have my mic, and I'll just listen for the answer. But I'm curious about his inferior mirage that happens at the same time twice each year. I mean, just that inferior. Just on those days, we've got that inferior mirage. We can count on it on those days each year.
Are you
But
saying
just for that little
Are you saying we can
slice.
predict it? Are you saying we can predict it? People can take vacations, go take a look at it.
Yeah.
But just for that
We
10%
know
of the
on
whole
those 2
vertical
dates each
span,
year
right?
that it's going to be an inferior mirage, and they can see it.
And we know we're going to get the perfect refraction index on that day. Huh, that's awesome. We don't
It's
have
like a broken clock being
The
right
temperature
twice a day.
change.
It's nice
It
that
has to be a temperature change or density change to have refraction, by the way.
we totally
Or
can
both.
predict the refraction on a 2-time annually basis. That's
I'm
awesome.
going to go ahead and drop down. You can give him my mic.
Roger.
Later, Ken.
I
Thank you
found
for your
something pretty
service.
Peace out, Ken.
I found something cool earlier. So I was kind of curious, how radio waves bounce off of a non-solid object. So I was gonna ask anybody in here, like, any globies, if they know about how that happens, because I'm like really curious. Is there still any in here?
I've been trying to get that answer. I've been trying to get that answer all day, Taylor. Seriously.
But I did a little bit more research, so I have a follow-up on it.
All right. Can I post my Canada video somewhere?
Yeah, if you
How do I
post
do
it,
that?
if you
So I click on the chat bottom right and then just post my reply.
post your reply on there, and then there's one more step you have to do. You'll see a little share icon. Click on that, and then click share to space.
Hey, there we go.
But you have to wear this hat, and it says you're a retard. If that's cool.
You do have to wear the hat. Like, I don't know whose rule it is. I think it was who was that guy who was putting stipulations and things.
The fun is pinned down from the first Twitter space back when it was Twitter. It was called the Nest. I heard when I got here, that's just what you have to do.
Yeah, who was that guy? Walter Bislin.
He's the man.
He was like,
rule.
Yeah, he was like, if you want to use the space, you have to say you're a retard or something.
Yeah, like it's free for you to use, but you have to put this stamp on your face that says you're a fucking idiot, and that you have to dance around and turn the sprint in circle 3 times. But you can use it for free.
Thanks, Walter.
Okay, so I guess I'm not going to get any answers. So I did do a follow-up on this question. So
Sorry,
what
Taylor.
types of materials can radio waves bounce off of, right? So let's see. Here's the different answers. Metals like copper, aluminum, and other conductive metals provide excellent reflection of the radio waves. Water. Seawater has high conductivity, making it a good reflector for radio waves. And specialized surfaces such as dielectric mirrors. And I looked up what that was, and it's basically made of glass. So that's really interesting. So I looked up what wavelength does the atmosphere reflect off of? What wavelength does the atmosphere reflect? And it says frequencies under 40 megahertz. And then I looked up what actually bounces off 40 megahertz, and they said metals can do it, like copper. Let's see, water can do it, which is very interesting. So seawater can reflect radio waves in lower frequencies ranges such as 30 megahertz due to its conductivity, and then the glass, the dielectric materials. So I guess it could be made of each one of those. But the fact that water can reflect that radio wave length is amazing. So at those frequencies, they can be reflected off water. But I couldn't find anything about non-solid surfaces.
Much less ones very diffuse and not dense at all, like way up there where they're supposed to be bouncing off of something.
Do they really have an answer? I mean, I really want to know like what the answer is and if they can replicate that in a lab.
I want to know too, because last time I heard air gets thinner as you go up, right?
If anyone knows, it's our boy Ruhif, and if he doesn't know, they don't know.
Where's Ferret Face at?
I see him.
I like Ferret Face.
Talking about Ferret Lab?
I think that might stick.
Wait, is he a furry in real life?
Oof.
No,
Throwing
no,
out
but if
accusations and rumors.
no, but if you bring it up, he'll pretend he is and say gross stuff.
It depends if he's in a room of other furries or if he's with us, it seems.
True. It's reference frame dependent.
Reference frame dependent responses for Rue.
Oh yeah, Rue, your mic might be inverted. You might have to mute and then talk. Or yeah, there you go.
You got it.
This is fucked. Can we go to Discord?
Never.
Absolutely, it's fucked.
So fucked. So when I came in, someone said something about 2 days a year of Canagoo. That's wrong. It's almost 4 months of the year, right? It's just whenever the sun lines up behind Canagoo, and depending on where the sun is, you have to move, to north of Marseille or wherever. Just move to wherever it's lined up with. It's almost 4 months of the year.
Even better.
Cool.
Mic check.
Yes.
Hey, there
Nice. Finally. All right. Now I have nothing to say. I just wanted a mic check.
40 minutes of work, 7 DMs. You wrote me 2 letters. Talked to my mom, sent a letter to my grandma, and here you are, and you got nothing. Okay, cool.
We had an AC-130 Spectre gunship pilot on here talking about Coriolis, and Dave's mic wasn't working, boys. What a tragedy.
And then the other guy was like, I seen curve from my window. Oh, it was like the trifecta or whatever.
But I'm telling you, all that effort, I would have said check too. I'd have been like, you fuckers hear me, right?
Hair torn.
Yeah, that's all. I haven't even been listening. I've just been trying to figure this shit out. So
You lost all train of thought, lost the whole conversation. All effort. I love it.
And the pilot boy that's not really a pilot is gone now, right?
Yeah, he ran. Well,
No, I can bring him back down there. Send a request.
Is he still down there?
I'll do it after we're done with the ferret.
You guys should bring up Flurfgirder. He's always listening with a
Yeah,
big.
he's still listening down
Scared
there.
to come up here, man. He's scared.
He doesn't come up. He
What's
only
the
likes
topic with the ferret?
He's scared.
Maybe he can answer my question.
Hey guys, I'm gonna drop out. I just wanted to say hail to Shane St. Pierre. I think he does great work, and yeah, the flat Earth is clear, obvious truth, and the ball is satanic July. Hail!
Cheers, bro.
Scoring some points.
Nice.
Right, you got my vote.
All hell Shane. I don't know if I'm there yet, man, but you're pretty cool.
What do we got to do to get you on the train? You know what it is? I can make a Nazi joke. Hold on. Wait, I have some jokes for you that you can probably get. I'm just kidding.
I want that.
Hey, Ruiz, why did you dedicate your video to Austin? It's a little weird, bro.
Dude, he's got 3. They're actually dating, but Witsit never was informed. He's been his estranged, disloyal partner for like 2 years, and that's where all
My
the
boyfriend goes to another school.
That's exactly that's what it is.
What's up, Lily?
Oh, hey.
Save
you know
us.
what? Oh, sorry. Can you guys hear me? Sorry.
Absolutely. Save us.
Okay. Cool, huh?
Save us.
Yeah. You know what? A few months ago, I had brought this up, and it's not so much of a question. It's just something for both Globers and Flat Earthers to think about. And that is that, I had brought up this issue that we cannot feel an emotion. And so, of course, the Globers told me that, oh, you know what? You can't hear all the full spectrum of sound, right? There's some sound that's below and some sound that's above our ability to hear in the spectrum of sound. And so same also with light. There's, stuff that we cannot see with the naked eye, below and above. And so we only have a very narrow band of what we can see and hear. So basically we were talking about our senses. And I was saying, our sense to feel motion, it seems to be very, very acute. So why don't we feel any emotions? Of course, they told me that, because we're at a very steady, constant speed, you can't feel it. Okay. So I gave them the benefit of the doubt. And I was like, okay. But, at perihelion and aphelion, we do change speed, velocity a little bit. So we should be able to feel that. But my point was, that, with all our senses, because I said, well, why aren't we allowed to feel anything? And their argument was, well, if you felt all that motion, you would just be nauseous and this and that and all that stuff. So I was like, look, we're already moving, right? And we are not experiencing any deleterious effect. Like, we are not affected by the motion. So why not allow us to feel a tiny sliver of it? And basically what my argument was that, in our senses, even though we might not hear, sense the full spectrum, like for instance, for hearing or seeing, let's say, I don't know the actual percentage, but just for the sake of argument, let's say that narrow band is just 10% or 5% of the entire spectrum of sound or light, right? Like, why aren't we then, it's not like we're denied the full spectrum. We do have a tiny sliver, even if it's simply 5% or 10%. So my argument is, why can't we just feel even 1% of that motion? Just a tiny weeny bit, because it seems like we have senses and those senses feel at least part of what that sense was made for. So nobody gave me an answer. All their answers was, oh, that would be way too much information for our brain to process. But at the same time,
do you want the answer, Lele? I know you seem to be monologuing.
What's that again?
Do you want the answer? Because your question started 5 minutes ago.
Well, let me just finish. So basically what my argument is that, we should be able to find, because if we are moving and we are completely fine with all that motion, I don't understand why it wouldn't be fine to allow us to feel a teeny tiny bit of it at some point.
Okay. Have you seen a video before of the dude that balances a coin on its edge while riding on one of those maglev trains in Japan or wherever?
No, I may have. I don't. It sounds vaguely familiar, but I can't really say, a total 100% yes.
Okay, that coin is moving, but if coins had feelings, it would not be feeling motion, right? We don't feel constant motion.
Why do we got to live in an imagination, man?
Wait, I'm explaining the fact that we don't feel motion. Right? We feel acceleration.
I just finished telling you that at perihelion and aphelion, there is some change. So don't tell me that we are at a constant speed at all. That does not work.
Right.
So
I'm just explaining that we
when
don't
you're at
feel motion.
cruising on the freeway at 80 miles an hour, you don't know you're driving at 80 miles an hour.
You can't feel that you're driving 80 miles an hour. No, you need visual cues.
She's talking acceleration, not velocity, dog.
I understand. I'm just clarifying that we understand that you don't feel motion.
It's
you
the
feel
change
acceleration.
in motion. Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's what she's talking about. She's saying we accelerate. So
right.
You feel motion.
Do you though?
Let's not talk. That's not what she's asking. You're the one saying that she's like taking too long. You're about to go down a rabbit trail for no reason.
Right. Do we all agree that we don't feel motion? We feel acceleration.
You don't feel constant motion. You feel change in motion. There we go.
Excellent. Cool. Okay.
No, dude. Ferret, if you don't feel some
Don't ever call me Ferret again.
If you don't feel some kind of motion when you're on a plane or a car, you should totally go to a neurologist, because I feel like I'm in motion. Sure, it doesn't, feel like I'm naked on the top of the car, but I can feel that I'm moving even in a plane.
No, you can't.
Yes, you can. To say you can't feel you're moving is ridiculous.
Yes, how fast are you going? How do you know how fast you're going in a plane?
This is an absolute horrible stance.
Well,
feel motion.
Yeah, and feeling the actual speed is not the question. Do you feel it like you're moving? Yes. You may not feel how fast you're moving. That's what you're trying to make the point.
Right. How do you feel that you're moving? To explain how you feel that you're moving.
The same way I feel.
This is a distraction.
The same way I don't have to explain how I'm at rest.
I thought you were going to answer my question. Now you're giving us questions.
I am, but we're still stuck on feeling movement or feeling acceleration.
You feel acceleration. Now go. Okay, we feel acceleration.
Feel acceleration. All right. So there are two motions that we're in that are acceleration. One is the rotation of the Earth, so the 24-hour rotation. The other acceleration is the orbit. All right. The orbit we'll get rid of first. insignificant. The calculated acceleration is insignificant.
30 kilometers a second.
Acceleration.
66,000 miles an hour.
That's a speed. That's a speed, not an acceleration. Have we agreed, yes or no, that we don't feel speed?
It's a different speed than the one that's spinning.
Right, but have we
No,
agreed
we
that
don't
speed is
agree with
irrelevant?
that. We don't
Okay.
agree with that.
Then how do we move forward? Tell me how you
We
feel
don't.
speed.
We say that you're just wrong because you're just wrong. We do feel motion even if we don't feel the speed. So get out of here with
How
that.
do you feel
I
motion?
disagree with the premise, but she did hit perihelion and helium.
Also in this motion, we're also chasing the sun at 500,000 miles per hour. So we got one speed at 1,007. We got another speed at 66,000 miles an hour. And we got another speed at 500,000 miles an hour. While the whole thing is cruising around at 1,000,000 miles an hour, going around the galaxy of or the Milky Way there. So I don't think we have constant speeds anywhere, constant directions anywhere.
You just named a bunch of speeds.
Speeds, we have inconsistent directions, and you're saying we can't feel any of it. And that's all because
Yeah, you can put them all in a, you can use vector mass to make it all seem like one motion. And a kinematic concept, you can just think of them as all one motion that's constant enough to say the rest are negligible. But that's just maths. That's not actuality.
Right. Can we move on from feeling speed?
Well, no, we can't move on because you're acting like you can be cruising in a plane. You don't feel like you can be on a car cruising at one speed and you can't feel it. You just feel because you have velocity. You don't feel like you're moving. You do have velocity. And yes, change acceleration, you'll feel that as well. You can feel velocity and acceleration. Trying to
tell me how you feel velocity.
Telling you can't feel this is absurd. Can you tell what speed we're going while we're doing all this?
Guys,
tell me how you feel.
3 years.
Is absurd.
How do you feel velocity?
The same way I feel I'm at rest.
It happens
so how
just
do you feel
around
you're
the
at rest?
nature of the inner ear alone. You know exactly how humans feel. Plus, our inertial contact with solid objects around us also tell us about motion. There are several different ways
kind
the
of motion?
human, any lateral
Do you have
motion,
impulse
So
control?
any
acceleration,
oblique
son.
motion, any motion oblique
Acceleration?
to vertical.
Do you not have any
anything.
competent way of thinking, bro?
The point
I
is
do.
that
I want to
it's-
hear you say how
Well,
you
listen
feel
then.
velocity.
Then it's been about 3 years since I put this
equilibrium
to
in my-
bed. Hold on, Bri. With 3 years ago, I put this to bed with a 3-minute video you can all watch on BitChute at your leisure. You just type in Man of Stone, Earth, Spin, and there it is. Enjoy it, guys, because it quantifies the argument. What we're doing is we're taking the figures out of the textbooks, off of NASA's site, saying, all right, here are the masses involved, here's the spinning involved, these are the velocities involved. When you add them together, this is the acceleration you can expect. It's all fully quantified right there. Guys, go and enjoy. We don't have to argue about such a pedestrian topic.
Right. So we're arguing about acceleration now, right?
No, we're not.
No, we're moving on.
Not past the speed issue.
We're not. There is no issue. Go watch a 3-minute video and learn to actually figure out, oh, look, there's the numbers. This is why it's not an issue. We're all over you, Rue.
The acceleration numbers, right?
It's so pedestrian.
I want to add one. I want to add one tiny thing, actually, real quick. You know, we're always shown like the axis. You know, the Earth is spinning on its axis, and as if it's like this neat, clean spin. You know, every 24 hours. But while it's doing that neat, clean spin every 24 hours, it actually has to orbit the sun. So I think, honestly, it would distort that spin. It wouldn't be a neat, clean spin as if, you know, the axis, the bottom tip of the axis was stationary in one spot. So I think that's something we need to address also.
Okay. We're still stuck on speeds, aren't we?
Hold on a second.
Yeah, like 1.2. Try changing Mach 1.2 every 12 hours. You're going to notice.
That's an
You're going to
acceleration
notice.
stone.
Yes, that's what you notice.
Okay,
It's an acceleration,
so have we
just like
moved past
gravity is an
speed?
acceleration. We notice it. It's vertical, right?
So-
It's quantifiable. The point is that we just don't feel it and we can't measure it. We have all these
We'll get to that.
sensitive machines to measure lateral acceleration, but none of them seem to be able to measure one relative to the Earth going around the sun, spinning while it does, regardless of latitude. The data just doesn't seem to be there, Rue, and that's because they can't measure it.
Well, we can measure the rotation, the centrifugal force from rotation, which we'll get to if we get past the speed issue.
Hold on, Ruhiv, real quick. I'm trying to
can.
say this to Brian, just so to be fair to Ruhiv's position that I completely disagree with, but to be fair to it, they have it scaled out. You have to realize they have it scaled out like 147 million or billion meters away from the sun. We're like 91 million miles, right? So even though we're moving like 66,000 miles an hour, 93 million miles away, when you do the centripetal acceleration formula, A equals V squared over R, using their numbers of being really, really far away, you end up being 0.0061 meters per second squared, which is, if you were to compare it to falling, you're about 1,600 times slower. You're accelerating about 1,600 times slower than you are when you're falling on the Earth. So they have it scaled such that it's so far away that when you calculated it out, the acceleration is a tiny number that you'd never notice. That's what they do. Like that's the steel man of their position.
Thank you. Very good. I actually thought it was smaller than that, but anyway.
I just want to say real quick, I put that video Stone was talking about in the purple pill if anyone wants to check it out.
Thank you very much.
Much appreciated.
Yeah, and those are, again, it's just a mathematical way of minimizing it through putting all of the vectors into one and using vector mass and saying it's all one motion. They don't acknowledge that there's separate directions of these motions, separate speeds of these motions. And then in magnitude, if you're going 67,000 miles an hour, a little bit of change is going to be magnified because of the speed that you're going too.
The proper the proper argument to make, presuming, because the thing is what okay, listen, it's really gay. They've already swallowed hook, line, and sinker this entire paradigm. So in order to argue against it, you have to step into their framework and combat it from inside their framework to show them why their framework is wrong. So speaking in that wise, it's not the proper route to take is not to point at this tiny acceleration or even this velocity, because in order to actually get a quantification that can fly in the face of their claims, you have to introduce forces. That's why you need things such as Airy's failure or interferometry or the Fresnel drag or anything that introduces a non-relativistic approach to the motion. You need a force, you need a material that has a mutually exclusive source. So that's how you have to address this. You can't talk about just raw velocity, raw acceleration, anything like that. You have to start dealing with forces.
Right. We'll get to new perspective in a minute about combining vectors, but that's absurd. Right. So Leliana, the speed of our rotation, so our 24-hour rotation, is not the relevant factor, right? We know that there's a centrifugal force when you rotate, so that would be the force that's trying to throw us off, all right? The equator is the furthest distance from the axis of rotation, right? So it would have the greatest centrifugal force. And if we calculate that centrifugal force, it's going to be 0.03 meters per second squared. All right, that's the size of it. But in the opposite direction, you've got gravity at 9.8 meters per second squared. So when you combine the gravity and the centrifugal force, all you're experiencing is a different downward force, just a little bit less. All right, so you actually weigh less at the equator than you would at the poles. All right, and the way that we test this centrifugal force is we measure a weight at different latitudes. That's been done, and it matches the globe, matches the rotation.
Dude just referenced the GNOME project after Indio tore him up on it, but whatever, it's fine.
Say it again?
You don't remember the GNOME project talking to Indio about the weight of the GNOME they did, and then they had the The control was ruined, the data was ruined, everything was retarded, and you still referenced it just now?
I didn't reference GNOME, no.
Well,
GNOME
how
was
else?
rubbish.
Well, okay, well, what's the other evidence for latitude-dependent weight change?
Yeah, Critical Think has done a stack of measurements, and he's also combined everyone else's measurements. But yeah, GNOME, I looked at the GNOME data chronologically, and it looks like either when it left Sydney or arrived in, where was it, somewhere South America, they'd fucked up the calibration of the scale. They'd dropped it or something.
Yeah,
so I tried to email the dude. I emailed the GNOME people that make the scale and said, did you do any follow-up analysis? And he goes, no.
He emailed the gnomes.
I
know what you little guys are up to, trying to make latitude weight.
Data, and you're ruining it, and it's not going to be good enough. Don't do it.
Yeah, no, there was a dude in Sydney and Chatswood, and I'm fairly sure he must have dropped the scales, because after that it was all over the place.
Hey, Alan, what about the mass canceling out anyway for centrifugal force?
Oh, for centrifugal force? Yeah, so centrifugal Coriolis makes different predictions, right, based on your direction. So if you're going north to south, you'll deflect to the west. If you're going south to north, you'll deflect to the east. And the only substantiation we have of anyone correcting for that is it's called wave matter interferometry, where they're shooting wave matter, very mysterious, vertically down, and they say that they have to account for Coriolis due to Earth rotation or whatever. But the only ever correct to the east, which implies, right? So if you follow the centrifugal equation, the mass cancels out. So what it's really describing is centrifugal acceleration. So a way that you could differentiate between, it's just like kinematics. So what you would, let's see here. So the way you would test which theory is correct, is it Coriolis force or is there an ether wind that's, making it all go the same direction? You would have different deflections depending on where you're at, and they only go to the east.
In the northern hemisphere.
Yeah, but in the north, though, they still make different predictions.
Is this 75-meter drop tower thing?
No, different thing. This is a whole different setup.
Straight up Coriolis.
All right. Lovely.
Yeah, I'll send you some documentation on it that my boy Tapioca Weasel sent me. He's a he's a wave matter interferometrist.
Close cousin.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you know him. Oh yeah. Respect.
Oh, is this a fair weasel joke?
Yeah, fair weasel. It took me a second. I was like, what the? But yeah.
It was Cassandra. Cassandra was also pointing that out, wasn't it too?
No, that's who told me about the centrifugal stuff canceling out and all that. But in terms of like confirmation of which theory is correct, right? I asked Tapioca about the corrections that they make and if he heard of any westward corrections, and he was like, nah, always to the east, my dude. He sent me 2 papers to follow up on with that, but I never looked at them. Just took his word for it. So, spaghetti.
Yo, my favorite thing, though, not my favorite, but among my favorites, though, Alan, is that there is still, after over 100 years, no Einsteinian explanation for the vanilla Sagnac effect.
Oh, just a regular Sana? Talking about Sana?
Sagnac 1.0, bro, but the vanilla version.
Yeah, just the light on the rotating table, dog.
Yeah, they had no way. They were like, nah, that's just because of rotation. And then later they were like, yeah, well, it's not. And they're like, okay, well, then can we retroactively go back and revise our formal explanation?
Yeah,
nope,
just like Ruhif was saying earlier, like, how do you measure your motion or your speed? It's like, well, you have to measure it with respect to something else, like against the wind that you're blowing against. You get a stationary air and you're going through it. You can feel it blowing across your skin. Same situation with the table, dog. If you got that table rotating and the light's traveling through it and it actually shifts the light at the same proportional rate that the table's moving, then if it's physically moving the light, it's moving it with respect to what? Like there's something there that the light's being dragged against, because special relativity predicts no fringe. It predicts that the constancy of C will remain and nothing will change. And in the lab, it actually does change. So there's some ether in between that emitter and detector that it's being dragged against.
How dare
It's
you?
that's the solution Sagnac proposed, and he used classical math, and was like, "Yep, it works perfectly, man. I don't know what y'all are arguing about." Saying that
And
they
then,
know anything.
and then they were like, nah, that's just Earth spin, and it works exactly the same. You'll never be able to tell.
That's actually not what they said. They didn't have an answer, and then like 80 years later, they're like, "Well, if we just invoke a geometrically convenient position and say we're sitting in the center of the table looking at the light, it's like it would make sense." And it's like, yeah, but why would you even do that? Because that's not where the detector's at anyway. So they just literally changed the actual real experiment and pretended it was a different experiment and said if it was a different experiment we could predict it. It's like, yeah, but can you predict the actual experiment though?
Yeah, timing is everything, right? They like try to history revisionist at the same time, because when it was happening, they were like, nah, it's just this. It's because rotation. Okay, well, traveling in geodesic and linear, and then that whole kabuffle happened, right? And then once they established, okay, you caught us, they can actually detect all motion. At that point, they didn't go back and go, okay, our stance for the last 20 years has been retarded, right? Because we knew all the whole time that it could detect motion. No, that never happened. They just jump and switch and change, and it's always revisionist or whatever.
I love how they have inertial navigation systems that use ring laser interferometry. What is it? Fiber optic gyros they use?
Yeah, you're talking about an etherferometer though, but continue.
Yeah. Dude, I looked up the history of Ethernet, by the way, and they did actually name it based on the ether.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Like
nice.
Ethernet
Shout out to
cabling,
the
you mean?
boys. It's very etheric. Expected.
Wait, did the ferret ever address Lily's question?
Oh, the perihelion and abelian change in the ship
it was
velocity and
the
acceleration.
number.
No, we did
Yeah,
not.
the number is 1,600 times less acceleration than you experience when you fall to the ground. So the steel man is that because it's 1,600 times smaller, it's such a small number that you wouldn't notice it. And in order to measure it, you would have to use some kind of device that's sensitive to it. But it's even like X many times smaller than the rotation of the Earth. So, and we already have a hard enough time detecting that. So, like, it would be negligible. That would be like their steel man.
But we can measure the rotation one.
Imagine that.
Yeah, but it changes with altitude, so you're screwed on that one.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Critical Think has controlled for altitude as well.
You mean like
How
Dayton
high do you
Miller
have to
and
get
Yuri
to be able
Galliev?
to see the Earth?
We're just talking about weight.
How about that its oscillation is sidereally synced instead?
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're not talking about weight right now. We're talking about sidereal rotation measurements with etherferometers.
Yeah,
And
using interferometry.
You know, all that shit is just way over his head. He claims it himself.
So how high up do you have to go to see the Earth rotating under you?
You just have to be in an inertial frame of reference.
You just gotta math it out, and then you'll see
Which
it.
you
You gotta math super hard.
can't independently establish. So the answer, Taylor, is that you wouldn't be able to because you would conserve your momentum.
Oh, TM, see, TM, to just quickly tell you that no, my question wasn't answered because really what my issue was is that our senses are very acute. And even though we've been granted a very, very narrow band in the entire spectrum of each sense, you know, we can see very little of the spectrum of light. We can hear very little of the spectrum of sound. I'm just wondering why we have absolutely zero sensation. You know, why do we have absolutely 0% of the band of actually feeling motion? It doesn't make sense. And it's you know, we can feel all other motion. So
No,
I'm
you
just
can't.
wondering, why
No,
weren't
you
we
can't.
given even like a, you know, a fraction of a percentage of feeling the motion? That is what I kept saying.
Okay.
Well, people that
number one,
they can't.
you can't feel motion. Number two,
You
what
can.
you would feel is a very slight change in your weight. All right, less than 1% of your weight. So if you're 150 pounds, would you be able to tell that you weighed 148 and a half? You can't feel motion.
Can't feel motion. Man, I tell you, man, if the hair on my leg moves, I feel that shit.
Right.
Don't we have a
Moves from
thing
what?
though in our ear that can detect motion based on the water movement?
Yeah, it's
Moves
called
from what,
equilibrium.
Brian?
Yeah, it's called an equilibrium, and the equilibrium we ain't moving either.
Moves from the wind blowing on your leg hair?
Yeah, Joe Biden style.
Right. So originally it was stationary and then it moved. What's that called, Brian?
That's called motion.
No, that's called an acceleration.
That's
Holy
called.
shit!
You're saying
it's an acceleration.
You saying acceleration?
If you're constantly moving in a circle, you will get dizzy, even if it's constant
If
motion.
you're constantly going in a circle, you're going to have constant acceleration.
Yes. That's an
No, if
acceleration.
you're moving
yes.
at a steady state in a circle, you will be able to feel it.
Yes.
If you're
at the end of the day, they can't verify the claims of the globe in motion.
So if you say you can't feel velocity, but you can't feel acceleration, and we have a spinning ball that has to be in constant acceleration, how can we feel acceleration?
Yes, we have measured the centrifugal acceleration. I've just been through this.
No, we haven't.
Yes, we have. Would you like me to post Critical Things video?
Would a feel acceleration?
So what?
I'm sorry, but whatever your name is, ferret or whatever. I'm sorry. What? Ruth? What?
There's no optical experiments that can show motion of the Earth.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have to give you an F, Bruce Ferret, a big fat F. You failed.
Yeah, your lack of understanding is not my failure, Leliana.
Actually, it's your lack of understanding that's a fail here, and your ad homs ain't making you look any better.
I didn't insult her. I'm just saying she doesn't understand.
And mostly, you have a lot of hubris because you make all these claims. Like, oh, we don't have weight at the, less weight. All these claims that are completely without proof.
All right.
Have you been listening, Leliana? Have you been listening?
You said we
Wait a
can't
second.
we can't detect movement.
Can I just have everybody for just a second just calm down? I have to say this. I hate to have to say this, but I got to say it. All right, listen. You all clearly know what side I have, what side I hold, what I believe in, what I think is true, and what I think is dumb. I do not agree with Ruhif's position, and I know that there is back and forth and stuff here, and there have been many times where I will personally attest that I believe he has been disingenuous and dishonest in many different conversations in the past. But as of right now, in this current conversation, I must say, when we're talking about the acceleration and the velocity topic, yes, he has agreed that any rotation carries with it an acceleration, a non-zero acceleration, but the proper steelman of his position is that given the numbers for the globe model, that acceleration is extremely small, so that's why you wouldn't feel it on a day-to-day basis. He's not saying that from a position like, I understand you guys are like, obviously you would feel a change, but that's a non-numeric based argument. While I personally agree with your guys' paradigm, I think that I must be fair to Ruhif in saying that in his position, using their model's numbers, it's very, very, very small, the figures that you're going to result in, and that's why he is being, at least at this moment, intellectually honest in stating his claim. So I disagree with him.
Real quick, though.
I agree with you, PSO. I do agree with you. Everything you said, 100% true. But you know something? Our sense of motion is so damn acute that I think we would feel, as I said, 0.01% of something. Like we would feel it.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, wait, Piazzo, you said something about the conserved momentum, right? That comes from being on the ground, right? That's not from being in the air. So if a plane goes from one tangential velocity to another in the air, they have to account for that, and they don't account for that, and that's a problem.
That's a separate topic, new perspective.
Right.
I agree
but
with
they don't
you,
conserve the momentum. So you could see the Earth. So logistically, you could see the Earth moving if you go in a plane from a lower latitude to a higher latitude, or the other way around, and you have a difference in tangential eastward tangential velocity, because you would not be in sync with the rotation of the Earth, and you technically could then if you were actually on a globe, but you can't because we're not.
Yeah, so just real quick, new perspective. I agree that's a topic shift, and I am fine with talking about it. I just wanted to be fair to Ruhif. Ruhif, do you think I represented you accurately and fairly? Do you feel you've been fairly represented?
Apart from the insinuation that you think I'm disingenuous sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, that's my personal stake. We can hash that out on the back end.
Cool. So I just want to ask Leliana, if let's say you weigh 150 pounds, whatever, if you get on a set of scales at the poles and the scale reads 150 pounds, and then I flew you to the equator, can you predict exactly how much you weigh?
150 pounds.
Right. That doesn't happen. You weigh less at the
Speaking
equator.
Speaking of which, what if you lived your whole life at the North Pole or near enough to the North Pole where you're said to be rotating at close to 0 miles an hour, and then you took a jet, like, you know, one of those that flies like 1,000 miles an hour, and you go quickly to the equator, where now all of a sudden you're moving 1,000 miles an hour. Do you think there'd be any kind of adjustment to that whatsoever?
Yeah, follow the ground track. We've discussed this.
No, I'm
hours
saying
hours.
somebody that lives their whole life at the equator at the pole, where they're not feeling any of it because that's where they live, obviously, and you can't say that when they go to the equator where they're suddenly moving 1,000 miles an hour, that they wouldn't feel an adjustment.
Yeah, they won't. They'll have a different weight.
Think about it.
Like I've just asked Liana.
Be heavier or lighter?
Lighter at the equator, yeah. You weigh less at the equator by about 0.3%.
If I fly down to the equator and buy all their gold and come back here and sell it, I could make more money.
Yeah, that's why they calibrate scales to latitude, so that doesn't happen.
They just use specific gravity.
No.
Yeah, they do.
Barrett, how high up do you have to go to start seeing the Earth spinning beneath you?
I answered that. If you're in an inertial frame of reference, you'll see the Earth spin. If you're not, then you won't.
How high up would I have to go to be able to
It's
see
not
that?
a question of height. It's a question of reference frame.
He's saying something that's impossible. Don't. You can't just independently float in the air and establish your own inertial frame of reference. Like that's a.
Well,
I mean, it's basically non sequitur.
Maybe.
I would have to get out of orbit, you're saying?
He's saying you'd have to be able to artificially suspend yourself at the same point in space without being in any way affected by any motion of anything else.
Yeah, you would have to lose the momentum you have by being on a rotating Earth. However you want to do that. Hey, it's my boy, Witsit.
What's up, Witsit?
I think Witsit said during the debate the other day.
Yo, one second, Rube, before you shit the bed everywhere, 1 second. Yo, Witsit, the mics are messed up. You have to leave your mic muted and then you can talk or something like that to the effect.
No, it's showing muted. Well, I mean, this is just proof that we've made phone calls.
Yeah, the mute button is inverted.
But let's
please.
Let's swing over to Mr. Xavier real quick and see if Witsit can.
Yeah, it's counter what you.
And we still got that nav guy down there, the new perspective wanted to talk to.
Yeah, I'll go quick, just so Witsit can talk. I like when he contributes, and usually we go for a while before he can contribute. But I do agree with what Piazza was saying. I think it's better to talk about what we can measure rather than what we can feel, because then feel is relative, right? It's sensory perception, and there's some measure of subjectivity with that. So I put in the NAS, and similar to what Piazza was talking about, a constant change in direction and directional vector is change in motion, i.e. acceleration. Can you measure said acceleration? Now, it's interesting that he says that our friend Ruhif talks about how negligible the motion would be, right? 0.01 or whatever it was. But it's also 0.5 of a difference from the equator. And why would he attribute that only to a orbital velocity rather than something else, maybe electrostatics or whatever, based on where you are on the flat plane? The reason I say why would he attribute it to orbital velocity, because we have other experiments like the one PZO talked about with Ares failure, that we weren't able to measure the expected orbital velocity that was predicted, that it was hypothesized. So you can't have it. You can't have the goose and the gander, right? You can't have them both. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Either both of the experiments would be in alignment with an orbital velocity, or no, you can't have one be okay with the orbital velocity when one isn't. So
to be clear, I'm
I'll
talking
end
about
it there.
rotational velocity, not orbital.
Yeah, either way, the rotational acceleration component would be 3 0.0337 meters per second squared at the equator.
Yes, which we can measure.
Well, you just measure it in terms of degrees per hour. You don't measure.
No. The weight of an object changes because there's centrifugal force changing with latitude.
So other than being able to go to outer space and other than based on the model, what is the evidence that we are spinning?
We've been talking about it for the last half an hour.
Oh,
weight
well,
change
no,
with latitude.
Well, weight. Well, yeah, but Ruhif, weight is not mutually exclusive to your model because under your model, weight is created by the force generated due to gravity and mass, and it posits gravity as the dynamic cause of weight.
Okay, you can call it whatever you like, electrostatics, whatever. There is a 9.8 meters per second squared acceleration downwards.
Yeah, there is.
And it gets less towards the equator.
And it changes during thunderstorms too.
So I've heard.
Well, I can send you a ton of
by how
papers
much.
on that. I got a collection. I don't know either, but it does.
Yeah.
So the honest position is that it's not due to rotation necessarily.
It's predicted by a rotating globe, so you get those.
Predicted. You use that word liberally, don't you?
Globe, but there's
You know, if there's a rotating ether that rotates at the same rate they say that the Earth spins, and it's the dynamic cause of the static gravitational force, it would also be the cause in the rotational change in the gravitational force as well. So don't think it's mutually exclusive.
Well, it may not be. Like I said, it is consistent with a rotating globe. If you want to make up some other explanation, you're quite welcome to.
The one you're using is made up anyway. We might as well, right?
Yeah.
Hold on, real quick. Hey, Witzik, are you? Is your mic working?
Well, I see you unmuted, so you didn't do it right. You gotta mute yourself. And
Yeah, you gotta mute
yourself.
Function is muted now. Try talking.
I'm trying.
Yeah, we hear it.
There it is.
All right. Touchdown.
If you got a
You guys
red
actually
mic,
hear me talking right now?
yes.
Yes.
What?
What's up, buddy?
What up? What up? Hey, okay, I want to try out a different mic too. Then that's so goofy, but I got a rhyme. See, Roof, see if you can finish my rhyme, okay? So Globers never want to get into geometry. You say we can't feel the movement, but good thing we got.
I don't know.
Interferometry.
Oh, bars, dude.
Nice.
Come on, man. Easy. That was just done. He gave you a layup.
Ruiv said he doesn't know interferometry. He doesn't like to mess with it. He likes to leave it to better minds. Or I think he said it slightly different.
And he knows it debunks his globe, so he doesn't like it.
Oh, if you don't like
That's the real reason. Yeah, real reason.
I didn't hear him say that.
Weasel, if you don't like interferometry, how do you feel about telescopes?
Pretty good. Yeah.
Oh, have you heard of Airy's failure?
The tilted telescope that he filled with water. Vaguely. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you like that? That definitively prove we're not moving.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to look at it.
No, you have to look at it.
I think curvature is just an easy. This is my actual stance, not what Shane said a minute ago. I can't trust that you guys know what you're talking about with relativity and all those sort of things because you can't figure out simple things like curvature.
You can't trust yourself to be able to actually learn it.
You know,
I probably could.
Relativity states that us not being able to see curvature is all relative.
Don't you find it weird that you have internalized an entire worldview that you don't even understand?
You're talking relativity or curvature?
Yeah, relativity and
interferometry,
the whole
motion.
belief that we're going all these vectors simultaneously and that we don't feel it. You believe that, like you internalized that, but you don't even like understand it. Don't you find that weird? Isn't that like somewhat religious?
I haven't internalized that. I argue curvature and rotation.
But all the
honestly
proof
don't care about the rest.
that you need, you don't care about it. Like you dismissed it. That you vitally need to maintain that belief. You're like, poof.
Even to believe in rotation, you have to have relativity.
And you argued, you just didn't prove anything.
Why do I need relativity for rotation?
Okay, because Michelson, Gale Pearson combined with Michelson Morley. This is my point. Like you don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know about Michelson Morley. Why is it
There's some
necessary to
traffic.
measure
I'm gonna
weight
go play
with
tag.
latitude?
To keep your motion.
these experiments prove that we're not moving, bro.
I'm supposed to go
So
talk
you
to this
say,
other
right?
space real quick. I'll try to jump back in here in a sec if you guys are still here.
Oh, before you go, is it? Before you go.
No, there's no.
Oh, okay.
What? No, dude. Do you think I want to talk to you about vertical temperature gradients right now?
No,
I
no,
think I could
I'll
care less about
say
that.
something. It'll be 30 seconds, and then I'll
too
go
long.
as well. All right, 30 seconds. In one of your conversations with Duffy the other day, you said something like you put forward all these proofs of flat Earth or not globe or whatever, and you are eagerly awaiting responses from the globers.
Yeah.
You said
Yep.
something along those lines, right?
Yep.
Just letting you know, for your own information, I've made 4 videos directed towards you in the last month or so.
And
So
dude,
if
how
you
many
are
times do you think
interested-
I've watched them?
Yeah, like I said, you're lying. You don't want to know the answers. That's
No,
the
you don't.
point.
No. Okay.
Yeah,
Can you give me
so you're
Can you give
lying.
me an answer to the World War II radio propagation 450 miles?
I'm looking at that now. Actually, that's been fun.
So is that a no? Is that a no or?
I'm only started looking into it a couple of days ago.
So no, you don't have an answer. Okay. when you give me an answer to that one, we'll talk about your other gay little videos.
Okay.
All right,
Anyway, so I've made 4 videos towards you, and you said you are eager to engage globers for their response to them.
Roof, can I be real with you?
Clearly, that's a lie.
I think what you're saying right now sounds slightly gay.
Oh,
Okay.
They'd make beautiful children. We'd make gorgeous babies.
Man. Well, I'll try and talk to you guys in a bit. I'm supposed to jump in this other.
Later, G.
I'll go as well anyway.
Link it up.
Myself.
Cool. See you. Hope the baby's well. See ya.
Peace, Rube.
I kind of feel like he just hung out with us until we just showed up so we could say that one thing to him. What do you guys think?
Kind of. Anyway, I gotta go and do some shit. See you later. See ya.
People.
Austin just made his night. He's gonna go to the bathroom.
Yeah, he was like, "Yeah, another thing. I made 4 videos about you. I win. Goodbye."
Now, quickly though, real quick, the difference in like looking into a position that you haven't heard of, right? He was like, "Hey, I'm gonna look more thoroughly into it instead of just trying to hand wave, make a broad stroke claim like, oh, this is the answer."
Dude, I used to respect that, and then the 7th time I've heard it, in the 7th month of the thing he's supposed to look into that he hasn't looked into yet, I'm starting to get less impressed.
Hey, you know what though? I'm impressed.
I'm getting steadily less impressed. Is all I'm saying.
It's a
the longer the
gradient?
time goes, and he hasn't read it yet. Yeah, there's a depressed gradient taking place. We haven't how many times has he not been able to talk about Michelson Molde because he's like, well, I don't really care about interferometry. Like dismissed special and general relativity. Like I don't need it. No, drastically need it. Like it's the linchpin. Just because you don't like it, don't know about it, doesn't mean that your position doesn't require it.
I wasn't expecting to him have never heard of it or never really not being able to talk about it. I wasn't expecting that.
For what? Which one?
Rupert is the refraction guy.
Oh, we
can do motion.
We got Nav back. Not sure.
Nice.
No, he's saying you're going to bring me back up. I didn't know what you guys wanted to talk about. I just wanted to say hi and thank earlier for bringing me up.
Yo, what's up,
I got a question for you. If you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay, so I have this scenario that I run by people that are familiar with airplanes and flying and stuff, and there's some things that just I've never gotten a good answer for, and that there's some arguments about the latitudes, right? With tangential velocities. Is that someone typing? Is that you typing, Nav? Or is that
yeah, one second.
I'm
Hear someone typing. Mute and or unmute your mic or whatever.
You
so
guys.
Nav, real quick, Nav. Yeah, the scenario is okay. So if you are a lot of flat earthers, I think actually get it wrong as far as just assuming that if you went up in a hot air balloon, right, like at a latitude where the ground is moving like 500 miles an hour, let's say, right. Well, the reason that the Globers give, which may be, at least somewhat acceptable, is that if you jumped up in the air or you went up in a hot air balloon, well, you're retaining the conserved momentum from being on the ground, right? So if you went up, you'd automatically be moving 500 miles an hour with that latitude of the Earth rotation, right? You get that concept?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Actually, you start to lose some immediately as you increase the R.
Yeah, but that aside, let's just say that you could go up at a 500 mile per hour latitude. And you would just stay with the Earth, and that's the reason that we're given for this conserved momentum, and that's why you don't see the Earth moving right below you. Even though, like Stone said, it could be argued that you start to lose that conserved momentum right away. regardless, let's say you do, and you jump up or go up in a hot air balloon or helicopter, and you go up, and you're moving 500 miles an hour with that latitude. But then if the helicopter, let's say it's a plane, and the plane flies to the equator, right, to an airport that's moving 1,000 miles an hour, right? How is it that the pilot is unaware, or how is it that he would be aware and doesn't do anything, to have the plane now moving in a perfect one-to-one relationship with that 1,000 mile per hour landing strip that he needs to treat as stationary? Because you do agree that you just treat the Earth as stationary when you're landing, right?
So I'm trying to picture myself being in the position that you're describing, as if I'm jumping off of a big ball that is spinning. It's supposed to be going faster as it gets to the equator due to the spin, right?
Yeah, tangential velocity. The globe claims it's 1,000 miles at the equator and tapers up to 0, right, at the poles. So it'd be moving. The ground would literally be moving twice as fast. So how does the plane then stay in that one-to-one relationship with the eastward tangential velocity when it only had the 500 from being on the ground at that latitude?
That's where I got cognitive dissonance, because I can't really say that the physical plane that I just left is moving faster than when I actually get down to the actual ground again.
Well, I would say it's because it's not. I mean, the only way that I would say that it would make sense that the pilot would be taught to treat the Earth as stationary is if it's actually stationary. And this is one way of pointing that out, because you'd have to have the plane be moving eastward regardless of its direction. Now think about if it goes west-southwest, right? Now it's aiming away from the spin, going against the spin and getting to the equator. Either way, it needs to be moving 500 miles per hour faster, or twice as fast as where it started out, right? But you only have the conserved momentum from being on the ground at 500 miles per hour. You don't get more just from being in the air, and you have winds blowing in all directions. So how would the plane automatically be moving eastward twice as fast? So it could just treat the Earth as stationary. Even worse yet, what if it lands going westward? Now it's got to be moving 1,000 miles an hour backwards, or 500 miles compared to where it started. Now it's got to be moving 500 miles per hour backwards to stay in a one-to-one relationship with the rotation of the Earth, so it could treat the landing strip as perfectly stationary, facing west.
The only conceptual thing I could possibly answer that is with the distortion in the words that you're using is making it hard to land the plane.
What do you mean? It's not the distortion. I'm just talking about the globe model claims. They say it's 1,000 miles an hour ground speed.
I can't answer that. Yeah, sorry.
Well, what's the distortion in the way I'm saying it?
No, in my brain, to conceptualize it, there's a distortion that I cannot get past that you're trying to land the plane with to connect the dots to say it's either true or false, because I can't connect those dots.
Okay, but you do understand the globe model claims that the ground speed at the equator is 1,000 miles an hour.
I can see it for what it is, yes, sir.
Yeah. So does that present any kind of, like, a little bit of a, wait a minute, kind of reaction other than just distortion?
What do you mean reaction? It doesn't affect.
Like maybe the reason that the pilot's able to just treat the Earth as stationary no matter which tangential velocity he lands at is because the Earth is actually stationary.
Dave, you're assuming he's a pilot, and he's not.
Well, he understands the basics at least enough to understand this doesn't work.
Yeah, and to be fair,
I believe I can speak for myself, but
to be fair, earlier he did say that he had to account for Coriolis effect, so maybe we could, if you're not able
that's
to
what I was actually.
Planes,
that's what piqued my interest in talking to you. You said you have to account for Coriolis. Now wait a minute, I do understand that would be mixed with the winds, right? It would be too little compared to the winds, and that's a totally different thing than keeping up with a twice as fast ground that you have to land on. Totally different than Coriolis. Coriolis would be a westward, slightly westward adjustment, right? And it's just too small compared to the winds, most say. But is that what you think?
No. So in the navigation, when I look at a sextant and I am up at altitude measuring my height observed to a observed body, sun, moon, 57 navigational stars, and I am in a east-west direction, I have to account for Coriolis on the bubble, which affects my height observed.
And
So
how is
in
that?
my calculations, I take that into account. Yeah, this is something that you have to. I haven't done this in fucking 30 years, but you have to take into that Coriolis effect. And it does matter when you go over time. If you do not have that Coriolis effect encountered, you will not reach your destination. You're going to be 20, 30 miles off, and you will be affected.
Right. Now, that could also be about the ether wind, to be honest, with a little bit of Coriolis
Even if you're
effect would
going
make a
have right
difference.
to left winds and you still account for it because of the Coriolis, you are going to land north because you did not take care of that correction.
Right. And that is a separate thing, because that would actually deflect you to the west. And it wouldn't, you know, the accounting for that's not going to make you go twice as fast eastward. It's just going to be a little adjustment. So I think that gets conflated a lot of times, at least I've noticed with these people that argue, well, they just correct for the Coriolis and you're back on track. And then you're automatically, you know, eventually incrementally going just as fast as the Earth is when you get there. But that's not really the case, because just being over a certain point at a certain latitude doesn't mean that you've increased your speed necessarily. If you were in a Cessna and you're only going 100 miles an hour, are you going to be going, 100 miles an hour forward? Is your vector sideways going to be, 1,000 miles an hour when you get to the equator, when you took off at 500? And the plane's not even made to go that fast, you know? So these are the things that separate the kinematics, the concept that you would just be automatically at that speed. Kinematically, you could say, that's just a rule. We're just going to cancel that out and say that, we are over the city that's going that fast, so the plane must be going that fast eastward, right? But you can't, but the realistic dynamics of it would not really work out that way, because you have to actually have a mechanism that accelerates the plane sideways or backwards or wherever it needs to be in sync with the Earth. And then I make it even harder. If you're going to, like, say you can't get the clearing to land and you're circling the airport for an hour or something to get the clearing to land, then you have to imagine whatever this imaginary force is that doesn't exist is automatically keeping you in sync with the Earth as you go side to side, backwards and forwards as you're circling. It would have to move in all directions, and that doesn't work. You're not just going to be moving 1,000 miles an hour in an eastward vector, also only forwards 100 miles an hour down to zero when you land. Think about it. It would have to stay in perfect sync with the rotation at twice as fast at the equator. And I know you don't know that there's an answer because it just causes cognition, but that's my question for you.
It's very interesting to conceptualize. I give you that. It's very hard to wrap your head around it.
Well, thanks for being honest about that, at least. We can move on to other conversations, or if anyone has more questions about that concept.
Are we all?
Email Dave. He'll talk to you for hours and hours about it. He'll answer every question.
Otherwise, I think we got JT with his hand up, man. What's up, buddy?
Hey, do I got my mute figured out?
El Presidente.
Nice. Yeah, man, I'm gonna chime in, do a little bit of a rant before I go to bed. It'll be different, probably, maybe the same. Anyway, here we go. In listening to you guys, it was awesome. I really appreciate Piezo for like keeping the playing field level. I thought that was awesome, because I'm in this to learn. I've learned a lot from Stone. I've learned a lot from a lot of you guys, and understanding better their paradigm and their numbers and like how hard they fight that we wouldn't feel these small motions, etc. Like what I really thought about tonight is Rue can believe what he wants, and he can continue to believe what he wants because he has that right. But what's going to be really hard for him and many of the Globers out there, or the anti-flat earthers out there, is this is a growing movement, and people are hopping onto it quick because I think it is the truth. And if you look into history and you look into like, well, what's been a lie? Well, everything. And what's been true? Quite a bit of the conspiracy theories have been true, and even that term has been coined to make us look foolish or silly. The education system, what they've done with the medical whole thing, the story of billions of years and evolution, that we came from monkeys. Like, all this stuff is starting to get a really nasty taste in everybody's soul. And honestly, I'm just going to say, when I found out, or when someone told me that outer space as a whole, the narrative of outer space and trillions of light years isn't true in reality, it freaked me out. I thought, well, what are you talking about? I didn't understand what my friend was telling me. And then I laughed. First thing I did was I laughed, and I wasn't laughing at him. I just thought it was kind of funny that somebody would tell me something, that wild. But here's where I've landed. I no longer believe that we move 1.6 million miles through space every 24 hours. I believe when I have coffee on my back porch every morning, I'm in the same exact spot, and that's settling to my soul. It feels good. Is it right? Is it true? Is it provable with measurements or mathematics? I don't even, I care because I care about what the truth is, and I don't think all these vectors are happening and all this motion's happening. I love the stable topographical plane Earth that we live in that's enclosed. I don't understand the entirety of the sky or the luminaries and what they do and how they do what they do. But when I look up at the sky and the stars, I feel like I am looking into a different realm than where we live. Because where we live, we can grab dirt and measure it. We can bend things. We can build things. But the stars, we don't know exactly what they are, what they're made of, or how they do what they do. I know NASA has answers. I know mainstream science has all the answer for the materialistic world they try to indoctrinate us into. But my last point, and I'll land the plane, if we all, as human beings and souls, look at the byproduct of what has come from all the lies, all the deceptions, all the corruption, all the angles at getting people controlled and them making money. It's all about control and money and power. The byproduct of the heliocentric model and evolution and all these billions of years and lies and crap, it's hurt us. It's hurt humanity badly. And what I'm finding in the 2 years that I've been in the truth movement, finding out what is true health, even asking the question, what is it to truly be healthy? What is this place that we live? It's caused me, my byproduct personally, I'm speaking, JT here speaking, I've looked into nature more. I've looked at the moon and the heavens. I've been interested in reality and create, what's around me, my environment. I've almost woken up to new relationships and friendships with people. A lot of people don't think just like I do, but I've found that my capacity to love has increased. My capacity to have patience with people has increased, and my ability to allow someone to have a different thought than me has also gotten stronger. So if many people are getting healthier with Flat Earth, and they're gaining lasting relationships and friendships, and actually, showing each other compassion and love in this truth movement, millions are going to flock to it. And, these anti-flat earthers just bring a bit of toxicity, a bit of ego, because they think we're stupid and they think we're wrong and they think we're fools, when if they stay on the ship they're on, they're the fool. And that's all I got. I mean, I got much love for everybody. It's a confusing journey, but I love you all, and I'm real happy with where I'm at.
Run Boston for president.
Oh, we already rigged the election or whatever. I mean, voted. Wait, what did I say?
Oh, yeah. Speaking of that, voting starts next month. Make sure you get your votes in for president. JT's running against some guy, doesn't matter. Yeah, we need to. Oh, he's running against Mr. Right? Mr.'s been stepping up to the plate. He's been gunning for the throne. So, there's obviously going to be some slander campaigns. We're going to drag your name through the mud, and then if you start to gain a throwdown, if you start to gain any traction, obviously we'll remove you from the world.
I'm up for Veep.
I mean, let me ask y'all this. What's the harm? Let me ask you all personally. What's the harm in the luminaries being closer? Does it bother you that the sun's not 94 million miles away, that it brings us light and heat and life, and it's just, a bit closer. I don't think that's weird. Do you think it's weird?
No, it's super weird. They're all different
there's-
distances. There's that small matter of $70 million a day spent on the incorrect assertion.
Well, look, just because the stars, when I need them to navigate, actually move together like an equidistant web of stars unilaterally, just because they move and I treat them like that, doesn't mean that's what they are, okay? They actually are all at different super distant distances from each other, and I know that because of light speed.
Man, these guys got $70 million a day. They couldn't hire some dude to guard the plans to get to the moon. The plans to the Death Star. How did you
know what I think happened?
Build the plans to the Death Star.
No, they taped over it for like daytime TV. Like one of the spouses was watching like Jerry or something, right? And they were like, "Oh, was that the moon landing tape?" Nah, don't worry about it. And the next day they were like, "Shit, it was the moon landing or whatever."
Like, damn it, that's our whole gig here.
Oh, you're talking about when they tape season
when they tape
7
over the
of
moon landing.
Friends? Yeah.
Daytime TV.
Hey, thanks for letting me get all that off my chest. I usually talk first and then listen for a while, but I got a lot of work done around here, cleaned all the dishes up, made my kids' lunches. But you know what? I am seeking the truth in all things. And if it really is a globe, if it really is true, I'll adopt it back. I'll take it back gladly. It's just there's no proof of curvature. There's no proof of motion. And I don't think that story is even cool at all anymore. But I'll just go where the truth is. So thank you, guys.
Roger, Roger, man. But yeah, there is nobody can prove we're already in the sun. It's weird.
It's only weird if you full-heartedly believe that and then choose to still believe it with no proof or evidence. Otherwise, it's not that weird.
Did Witsit leave?
Yeah, he had a space with Nathaniel again, and he said he'll be back, but I may go listen in for like 5 minutes because it's always a good time, and then go to bed. But yeah, much love, y'all.
Peace out, brother.
Thanks,
What's
Mr.
he doing?
Prez.
What's he doing with Nathaniel? Who's Nathaniel?
Brother Nathaniel.
He's a Jewish dude that goes against all the other Jews.
Oh yeah, I like
The Darth Vader of Jews, bro.
Yeah, you might like him.
I actually do like him. I follow him. I seen him talking to him. I forget what his name was though.
Dude, I've been following him since before I knew any of you. I mean, whatever.
I haven't listened to anything he said, but when I was watching the stream that he was on with Witsit, it was muted. But he seemed like he was having a really good time. And he was smiling a lot, and nothing makes me happier than seeing a happy Jew. So I followed him just on that principle alone. I have no idea what his message is, but when I see a Jew smiling, it makes me happy. So,
dude, I used to repost his videos on BitChute back before I knew the Earth was flat, and he was just talking regular truth. Like he would say some stuff, and I'd be like, "Yeah, that does." And then I'd repost it, right? And then later, now looking back, I'm like, "Oh, he had most of it," and I was just like.
I was watching one of it was a few days ago, not too long ago actually. He was taking shots of vodka.
Yeah, he's based, dude. He doesn't give a shit. If that wasn't clear from any of his interactions, his attire, or his show, he truly doesn't give a shit.
That's my kind of man.
Yeah.
That's someone I
Dude
can
dresses
get
in a robe the whole time like a schmuck, dude.
You know how Brian Sweet unfairly gets called anti-Semitic? He's a teddy bear compared to this dude's how he goes hard.
Oh
in
yeah. Brian's just taking the sticks and the stones for all of us because we all kind of came to the same conclusion. But he's out there talking about it, and they're like, "No, Nazi, get him!" And we're like, "Well, I mean, no. Let's talk about why you guys feel that way. But is he wrong? No, of course not."
I kind of miss Mag. Do you remember him on BitChute, guys?
Dude, that guy was so funny.
You better wake your ass up. I'm telling you.
Bam!
What's happening?
That's a transformer. She has a dick. I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Telling me you can't see that.
So does that mean they're going to be
up.
Autobots? No, Decepticons.
Hey, I'm an FE, and I can prove that the world moves 1,000 miles an hour.
You're an FE, and you can prove the world moves 1,000 miles an hour. What is that?
Yep, that's right.
Well,
FE stands for Flat Earth. So
I thought, and you
the
think
way, yeah,
1,000 miles an hour?
yeah. When I'm drunk, and I'm like,
Oh, Superfly coming in hot.
"What's up, baby?"
Yeah, I only get that when I get drunk.
I respect waiting an hour and a half to say that, though. To be
Well, I'm
That's
a
the
matter of
ultimate
fact,
dad.
you know, I made my own shirts, my own flat Earth shirts, and I don't know if I should mass produce them and give them away or what, but
You should
everything that
start
I
by posting pictures. Come on.
well, check this out. So,
Yeah, put them up on your
my
stream. Let's see them.
my email has always been, for the longest time, I've had the same email for like almost 15 years, and it is ISONTFE72 it stands for Ant is on Flat Earth 72.
Okay, so just put that in your own bio on this platform, and nobody has to go anywhere to find it. You know what I mean? And as far as your
No
shirts
doubt.
go, like when it comes to the shirt, just grab your camera, take some pics, post them up here for everybody to see on your own profile right there, man.
Dude, I used to make flat Earth shirts.
We're right-clicking and tricking and seeing your shirts, man, faster than you could talk about it.
I did my first debate in my flat Earth shirt, and there are people that still follow me around the internet and like post pictures of it, like they're trying to get me, and I'm like, no, it's still a great shirt. It says, "I'm not a conspiracy theorist. You're a fucking idiot." I thought that was a great shirt back then.
I made my own shirt when I went to my first Flat Earth convention in Dallas and went to go see my my late buddy Rob Skiba. So I just that's why I made the shirt.
Nice. Superfly, I'm not gonna lie, you're like it was a toss up because your profile pic was a big baboon, right? So we didn't know how you were gonna take it.
It's not a baboon. That's a gorilla, bro.
Dang, Shane, you don't know your Animal Kingdom, brother?
Yeah.
Say that again.
That looks like my cousin, my great uncle.
Oh, that's me. I just caught the monkeypox.
Damn it.
See, if I clicked on you, yeah, his whole backsplash is like a plane deck, so that makes more sense. All you gotta do is click on it.
I was gonna say I usually am not moving 1,000 miles an hour unless I'm drunk and high.
Dude, I thought Liliana made a great point. She's like, listen, bub, listen, all right? I know that we move and that we feel acceleration and that perihelion and aphelion happen, and that means a change. So explain that. And Rube was like, watch me juck and jive for 20 minutes and not answer anything.
Are you talking about golfing and
He's
driving?
He was like, I definitely have an answer for you, Liliana. Watch how I specifically won't address it for 30 minutes.
Let me ask you a question. Why is it all your guys' answers are, let me ask you a question?
Let me answer your question with another question, Brian.
The flat Earth model.
Can I answer your question with a vicious straw man?
So what you're saying here is on your flat Earth model here, you guys don't know what seasons are.
What you're saying is sunset destroys you, Flurf.
Occam's razor, man.
Dude, you know what's crazy? I got people on that new McKeegan video. I left a comment, I was like, stay tuned for Tuesday, lads. I got a bunch of follow-ups that were like, how about you explain the sunset?
Dude, no way. I've never seen anything like that. Have to show me evidence of that happening.
He was
in real
like,
life.
he said, why are you worried about math? Don't you have a problem explaining a sunset? And I was like, buddy.
It's like, guys, calm down. You shouldn't be over here doing math and strenuous things. You should be trying to figure out sunsets. Like, yeah, that's a wonderful response.
Dude, I love it when you post some random stuff like about health or something else, and they come in and we'll explain the sunset. Like, whoa.
Dude, I had like 7 posts that I responded with. That's like sunsets with images, text, video specificity, summation, angular resolution, and I just like paste it. And they're like, yeah, look at the copy paste. None of it addresses what I said. False. All of it addresses exactly what you said, but you'll never look at it.
Hey, to Ruth's point, it sounded like the whole toilet bowl spinning at different rotations past the equator theme. The whole myth that was debunked a while ago. Has anybody ever actually seen a measurement at the equator versus at the northern hemisphere? And to Pizio's point, what was it, like 0.03 versus the 0.01 that we were debating versus what we would feel versus what we would measure at the equator? First of all, has anybody seen to verify that? And why was Liliana's point negligible while his wasn't? I don't get the difference between 0.03 and 0.01. How that's not outside the margins. But anybody seen a difference in measurements between the northern hemisphere and the equator?
No. But somebody asked a question in chat. I forgot to get to it. I think Stone touched on this once, but the comment was something to the effect of, when you buy gold, it's nobody ever says like where it was weighed or whatever. So if there was a change if there was latitude dependent weight, wouldn't there be some sort of gold
At zero
maneuvering?
latitude stamps they had to get on it, right? So you couldn't sell it anywhere else. Did you get that at zero latty? Okay, all right, it's cool to sell here.
Like, is that zero latty gold, or is that centrifugally accelerated?
Oh,
gold?
you got 90 latty gold? Get that shit out of here. That's trash. Can't accept that.
I can't accept that. Get that weak shit out of here.
So
Sounds like fool's gold to me.
What they're saying that is because little g's is just a function of height and time with a simplified kinematic equation with velocity at zero. I guess they're saying that like time changes at the equator, or what is it? Which part of the height and time equation do you think changes at the equator to get little g different?
Well, what you see here is we got a manifold surrounding us of space-time that's bending everything.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
It's literally time that's changing or whatever due to the mass of the Earth.
Yeah, well, you know what? That makes total. I forgot that the biggest physical force is being caused by non-mass and the non-reified space-time coordinate system with no datum to reality.
Yeah, see, the issue was Ruhif threw out relativity theory. He thought he could explain it without it. But once you throw in a little time dilation of the entire world based on the mass of the Earth, you're good to go, brother.
But he kind of threw it out with a giant appeal to it. He's like, look, I need this, but I don't care about it. You can have it. It was like, what? But what?
Well, to be fair, he didn't deny what any of us were saying about relativity. He says, I just don't trust you know enough about it because, measurements or whatever.
I know zero about it.
But what you guys don't know is he started to look into it at our behest, and then as soon as he got uncomfortable, he stopped completely. Do you remember that, Alan? He was like, I'm gonna look into it. And we were like, cool, how far'd you get? And he's like, right up until I'm never gonna look again. We were like, oh, what happened, dude?
Oh, okay. So there's some lore with this guy. All right, cool.
Yeah, it doesn't take a dude 8 months to look into emotion. That's what I'm telling you. Like I said, I'm having a little bit less of faith. Alan disagrees, right? But I'm starting to get suspicious.
Well, I think that this is more in his wheelhouse. So I'm giving him the Benny of the doubt.
I'm thinking that I know Ruhif best, but anyway.
Uh-oh. I was gone for a while, but it looks like we all collectively somehow drove poor Ruhif away. I'm sorry, guys.
Well, what happened was Witsit came by and he hopped out of a bush and streaked him real quick, and then he got so excited he left. We were all a little bit flummoxed.
I made a video and then he left.
Yeah, he was like, Witsit, I'm your biggest fan. Can I just tell you one thing? He's like, what? I made 4 videos about you, and then he left.
Which it's like, you're a little gay, bro.
Honestly, that's exactly what happened. I think it's a pretty good steal, man.
Actually, I think he said, that's a little gay. I'm going to go talk to a Jew about building families.
Yep. There you go.
I think that's what the exact quote verbatim was. If we get the court stenographer out.
It is a recorded space.
The court stenographer says, agreed, fake and gay.
It's all fake and gay.
It's right there on the tape.
We do have Nav back.
Do you deny the tape?
So what you're saying, let me ask you a question. What's up, Nath?
Dude, how gay
No,
is
go ahead.
space-time?
I had a separate question I was going to ask, but go ahead. I'll entertain it.
What do you entertain?
Well, I had a quick question. If somebody traveled, let's say they go from here in the U.S. to Australia, and they spend 2 weeks, but they continue on and go over to, let's say, Djibouti, Africa, and you spend 6 months there. But then you was like, okay, well, I need to go back home to U.S. Do you go back to the left or you go back to the right? But if you go back as if you were traveling with the sun, have you actually, and you continue to live your life, are you a time traveler at that point? Because you've never gone back in the other direction? And how can you solve that on a flat Earth?
Dude, what's crazy right
Wow.
now is in Australia, it's tomorrow morning.
Hell
Well,
yeah,
you wouldn't go. You wouldn't go east. You wouldn't go east or west.
Wrap your mind about that, huh? Right now, it's tomorrow morning in Australia.
Could there be time zones on both models?
Could there be time zones? Of course there could, but should there be 24 perfectly equidistant time zones on a, uniform rotating sphere that perfectly causes day and night in the perfectly cyclical nature, right? I don't think that would match. I think that they just make up, it's political nonsense, bullshit. We make up some excuses, and every country makes their own, and that's why they look haphazardly with way more in the south or whatever.
Well, yeah, and he's trying to use time zones as his proof. And say you go back in time in the flat Earth, what?
Yeah, dude, the back in time thing is dangerous, right? They try to get you to think as time as a dimension, so they can get you with that space time as a coordinate system, so they can convince you that actually that's causing gravity. It's a crazy thing. Everyone beware of the time metric.
Is that the fourth dimension?
Yeah, it's not real.
Right now, the time space-time thing could be real because it is tomorrow in Australia right now.
It's not though. It's only ever now. Like what you just said is weird.
They're living in the future, man. They could have told us what the lot of.
Dude, there's a reason that every time you do time travel as a plot, it's retarded because the concept itself is retarded. So it's hard to get not retarded output out of a retarded starting point.
But I still like Back to the Future.
Everybody does, but just know that when you like it, that you like something retarded.
But I like Star Wars too.
Me too. But guess what?
It's retarded.
Also retarded. Yeah.
Retarded.
How dare you? Lightsabers are real weapons.
As a concept for a lightsaber, that actually has to be like a metal rod or something in there that shoots out that you just can't have plasma just stopping at some random.
It's a coherent beam that is made by each individual Jedi based on crystal interactions and all that. So you just don't understand the science and geometry of a lightsaber. Kind of sad, honestly.
You guys haven't tried to kyber crystal in the middle of some etheric medium? Because I'm pretty sure that's how lightsabers work.
Yeah, if you've never done that, you really can't even understand the beam geometry. So you're kind of straw manning the franchise, and I don't like it.
Hey man, Empire was the best one.
Okay, so the Wookiees.
Can't believe they made Ewoks.
Empire was the best one. Rogue One was number 2, and A New Hope number 3, as far as best.
Dude, he's ranking his space nerd fantasies. That's like the space opera tween or whatever.
Hey, I'm just, but I'm accurate.
I was the biggest Star Wars nerd ever. I read every book in between of every subset lore, played every game, knew every character, every bounty hunter series. Believe me.
Well, the science is even changing with a new show. I guess 2 lesbians made a kid with the Force. So I guess the science is changing with the TV shows as well.
Oh, the Metachlorians went woke, bro.
Woke.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's probably because Kathleen Kennedy got her hands in there or whatever.
See, now the Force is gay. That's just sucks.
Yeah, dude, the Force was definitely going to be gay. They made it rainbow immediately. That was the precursor to it being gay.
Would you see the South Park? They just put a chick in it and make her gay.
Yeah, Mary Sue or whatever, give her all the powers. Make sure she can do no work and no unearned anything. You have to earn nothing, no montage, no struggle. You win because power. The whole feminine movement was funny with the Mary Sue. It's like, all right, take the movie that the guy did, make the girl do it, make it cost nothing, make it the same.
And plus, that movie, that it should be cheaper to make it because they're using women, and they get paid less.
Not to change the subject, but I had to leave because my battery was super duper low. Anyway, so I feel like I missed a bunch of exciting stuff after I left. Anyhow, I just find it so weird how these Globers, like, they just pull all these numbers, math numbers out of their butt. And basically, remember he was saying, like, oh, the centrifugal action would be, this much force or whatever they call it. But then the gravity is that much force coming down. And so it cancels out the centrifugal force that's throwing us off the earth. And I mean, it's like, dude, you have no proof of any of that BS. It's all math numbers. And they somehow just want us to believe that everything is true. Like, oh, there's a centrifugal force that's throwing us off the earth. But then there's this, gravity that's pushing us back down. And so, that's why we don't feel anything. But they never did answer my actual question or, address the actual issue, which is that I think that nature would have made it that we would have experienced at least a teeny tiny percentage of some motion somewhere, because that is how senses work. It wouldn't cancel out every bit of that motion, anyways. I just had to rant about that because
I love that people don't point this out enough, right? The centrifugal being in equilibrium with gravitation is a direct result of Newton inventing the force of gravitation by inverting the real force of centrifugal motion, and then saying that actually whenever it's whenever you're using it, it's in perfect equilibrium. And that's why it's never has its own force, because of what you just said, Liliana. It's the only time it's going to be used when it's an exact force equilibrium with centrifugal force. So it's almost like it's never really there. It wasn't there in the first place, and that centrifugal force is the only real thing. It's almost exactly like that. Whatever.
Gravity's that low-key hitter, dog.
Dude, that's why mass cancels out whenever you got to use it, and that's why it specifically cancels out when you equate, the Newton's law of gravitation. When you equate centrifugal to gravitational, the mass poops right out of there, and then you're left with your constants and periodicity. So,
respect. Yo, when you get a chance, can you get Pluchicast pod? Man, I butcher it every time. Sorry. Can you get Dominic up here, dog?
Dominic's asking for a mic.
Plucci? Ah, man, I don't know. But you
Bro,
get it.
what's wrong with Dominic?
It's Dominic. Yeah.
Why are you taking the hard road on this one, Alan?
Because Brian's not going to know who Dominic is without Pluchci pod.
Which one is he?
Dude, that didn't help at all, though, what you just said.
PLOCHY pod.
I don't even see him.
He's on my screen under Mr. There he is.
Oh, I see him.
It's Mister? I wasn't.
He's there. He's right next to Mr. now.
Dude, so name on here is Plocky Podcast. No glue.
Plocky, thank you.
Oh, I gotcha.
Why do I always ruin it?
You went so hard to ruin it. You almost made me ruin it, and I was trying so hard not to listen.
One sec. Paul Langevin. Stone, what's up?
Ah.
Paul Langevin. No, Paul Langevin.
Langevin.
God dang it. That was close, though.
Damn it.
Just
What up,
so
Dominic?
far not close. Hey, Dominic.
Hello, guys. Good morning, good evening, whatever
What's
you
up,
have
G?
right now.
Good evening.
Man, I noticed we had a whole new check section in Ether Cause and 80 new check. I had to download a new app, and now I'm just speaking Czech, dude. So translate away. I'm glad we're learning.
It's amazing. Like, it's amazing, guys, that you did this for us. Like, I'm so glad. We have a first meeting on Saturday, and I think it will become regular. So I think there will be a lot of new Czech flares coming to Ether Cosmology, and I'm looking for it. Thank you, guys. Really.
Hell
Nice,
yeah,
dude.
that's gonna be great.
Well, thank
Rock
you,
on.
man. Toby did he did all of the groundwork for the channels and stuff. So shout out to Toby for taking care of that. But yeah, it's gonna be awesome, dude.
So awesome to learn how based most of the Czech people are. We were equating, we were expecting American sheeple to be everywhere, and it's nice and to find out that's not the case.
Honestly, I think it's a little bit connected with water we drink and food we consume and things like that. We don't have a fluoride in water like in tap water. There is no fluoride, and I think even our food has less chemicals in food what we consume. So I think it is correlates with IQ and how much junk food and stuff like that you consume. I think that's a difference maybe.
Did you guys know that they don't fluoridate the Czech people? I didn't know that. Should we move?
You guys are like
think
superhumans. You've been non-fluoridated your whole life? What?
What an unfair advantage. That's not cool.
What the hell?
Oh, you guys, all you got to do is just build a house like I did, where I collect the rainwater off the roof. It goes into 4,000 liters of storage, and I drink rainwater.
Is that
Pretty straight
illegal
up,
now?
boys.
That's illegal.
Yeah, you need a permit from the government over here to do that stuff.
Yeah, we
Not
live
in Uruguay.
Yeah. We live in America. We can't collect rainwater.
Yeah, dude, the Uncle
same
Sam
with
has to bless
Spain.
you or
Is
whatever.
that genocidal or what?
You have to get blessed with the stick pole and then sacrifice the body of Christ or something. I forget how they do it.
Well, Shane eats some junk food so he could, dumb down a little bit for our sake, right? Otherwise, he'd be talking so fast and just such high concepts, we would never understand it. So thank you for eating junk food, Shane.
She just rescued my Skittles fetish, guys. Did you see that?
I watched it.
Yeah, I was trying to make him feel really guilty about eating the Skittles.
Dude, you guys all.
Hey, you should feel guilty about eating
I do.
Skittles.
I mean, I'm not gonna stop, right? But I do feel guilty, and I feel suicidal pressure.
They're not good. They're not good.
Of course, dude. I know they're not good. I'm a fucking truther. I understand. That's the worst part.
I know you know.
Well, he has to eat the Skittles, otherwise we wouldn't even understand him. He'd be talking like triple PhD level.
Well, that's what I do now. Is I watch debates on 2 times speed on YouTube, so I can get used to listening to Witsit and Shane. I think you two had some contests who can talk the fastest. See how much information you could throw out in the fastest time. Bam.
Yeah, it's like I say all the time. I thought I spoke fast until I met Witsit, and I was like, "Whoa, I gotta go hang out with this guy." But I didn't realize that everyone else hates that. So he's done a really good job of slowing down, and I gotta follow that.
Mr. Xavier has his hand up.
I was just about to say, "What's up, Mr. Xavier?"
Thanks, Liliani. A question for the Ether Cause regulars. In anticipation for your Tuesday debunk of the debunk. We all know that the ionosphere is traps frequencies between 40 to 60. We'll give them a little leeway. It's really around 40, but 40 to 60, let's say. We have ultra high frequencies that are well above that, even gigahertz frequencies that can travel linearly that will not bounce off. So I'm thinking about apologetics around that. What happens after that? There's a phenomenon I've been researching called tropospheric duction, basically temperature inversion, etc. If you guys can talk about that for the listeners to understand why that's failed apologetics, or what is tropospheric duction first off, and explain why that's a lame apologetic.
Are you sure it's not tropospheric induction?
Not duction, just duction. It doesn't say induction. You would think it would be induction.
Tropospheric duction. Oh, that's clever.
Yeah.
Tropospheric being
go ahead and talk
of
about
all
it.
the larger air masses in terms of strata, tropospheric being one of the lowest, if not the lowest, in terms of like the larger four. Yeah. Actually, what they're trying to say is lateral propagation without actually saying it.
It's ducting,
That's what's
by the
going
way.
on there.
Tropospheric ducting.
Yeah,
They say
precisely what I'm talking about. That it's just that amounts to lateral propagation.
Yeah, it's under 30,000 feet. Hold on. I think that's the... Yep, troposphere is like airplane height. Because once you... oh, sorry. It's about... At the equator, they say it extends to 9 miles above sea level. And at mid-latitudes, it's about 6 to 7.5
Yeah,
miles.
so that's 37,000, you know.
Yeah, so
the
6 to
lower
7.5.
atmosphere.
Yeah, it's
they're
airplane
saying
height.
essentially lateral propagation.
Wow, dude,
Yeah.
this is a special thing that exists only for radio waves, apparently.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's where
Tropospheric
they say
ducting
that
is a phenomenon, dude.
tropospheric ducting, they say, is like this unpredictable phenomenon in which when the conditions are right, that the micro moisture droplets, aka the humidity in the air, can somehow magically cause the radio waves to bounce up and down and
Dude.
travel in a horizontal path.
Oh, that's so neat because actually its specific effect is that it causes radio signals to travel much further than usual, potentially reaching hundreds or thousands of kilometers beyond the normal line of sight range. What a specifically useful attribute. What do you guys think? Thank you, Xavier. This is great.
Bro, and not only that, when I was looking into it, when they talked about the warmer airs above, when the cooler airs contributing to an increased refractive index, I mean, if that's the case, wouldn't that retard the signal? Why would that amplify? Why would it boost it to have a longer linear trajectory?
My God, what a goofy explanation.
It's literally like probably one of the best examples of an ad hoc rationalization that I can actually exemplify.
Yeah. Dude, it literally just says, "Oh, this fixes that thing that broke the globe." This might as well call it globe paste, like globe duct tape. Like I just magic that shit back together, and it's fine, guys. It's good as new. It can never happen. What? It only affects radio waves. What causing the problem? Radio waves. We'll just have this one thing called tropospheric ducting that actually it extends a linear propagation of waves right around the edge of the globe whenever we need it to, and that's what it does. Like what?
Globospheric coping.
That is hilarious. Thank you, Xavier. This is gold.
Globospheric duct. Instead of ducting, it's just duct tape, like Shane said.
Oh, it's a little thermosphere for the sky. So instead of sound waves in the ocean following Earth curve with a little bouncing back and forth, it's in the sky. Very cool.
Globospheric duct tape.
So there's aquaspheric sonar ducting and tropospheric airwave ducting.
Dude,
it's like, listen, dude, whatever medium you're in, wherever you are, it's going to always just propagate radio waves to follow the curve.
Dude, but just radio waves, no other type of electromagnetic radiation, no wave, no light, nothing, no other type of matter, just radio waves.
Yeah, and when you pick up, like when whales pick up other whale signals from like 6,000 miles away, just know that it's because somehow those sonar waves, the waves the whales are emitting, those acoustic waves, are just magically aquaspheric ducting through the ocean and bouncing around to perfect the geometry in such a way that it bends around the Earth to the other hemisphere.
And you know what's crazy is that the whale, when the female whale hears that call from 6,000 miles away, she doesn't trace it back to its source. She triangulates and comes up with a course and a bearing to account for like Coriolis and all kinds of stuff because the water will be rotating out from under. Yeah, it's really cool. And then wait, so sometimes the whale will come up to sea level, right? It'll come up and stick its head up. It'll try and do a little cell nav. It'll try and get a GP from a star and see if it can figure out where that wave came from. Because the globe is so hard to navigate on. Because everything that goes out straight, it just always comes out.
But then it needed site reduction tables. It doesn't really know where it is. You can't really expect it, so it had to do adjustments to get its actual calculation before it can actually figure it out.
I didn't even think about the fact of the whale like tracing that signal and then going to it to find the mate, dude.
Yeah,
oh my
dude,
gosh.
it's looking to reproduce. But it's
She
like,
gonna
where
find
are
that
you?
dick. She's gonna find that dick for sure.
Whales have been doing spherical trigonometry with correct five log correction tables long before we ever discovered math.
The fact that they have calves at all is proof that the Earth isn't a sphere.
Dude, we got to give it to him. It's actually a globe now. The fact that whales are born every year is globe proof. That's actually insane. GG.
Whales are born
boys.
with a special. Whales have a special compartment in their prefrontal cortex that allows them to mentally do 5 log correction tables for the oblateness of the Earth.
Dude, that's
oh my gosh.
Evolution, dog. Darwin, you know?
In here, I thought they were for air. They were coming up to check out the stars.
Dude, yeah, that's what blowholes are for. It's not for air, dude. It's so they can see the starlight and they can take account of the 5-degree tilt, so they can actually get a good grasp of where they're going and where the stars are.
Like when they pop up.
Oh yeah, because the refractive index changes in the water so much they can't get a good GP to the star. So that's why they have to come up. They have to come up to get their GP.
Yeah,
you get it.
That's what the blowhole's for, dude.
Whale fraction. We have a whale fraction now.
Whale fraction, there it is.
Yeah, the blowhole is so that they can expel any water. They can get one clean stream of consistent air with a refractive index approximately 1, so that they can trace their GP.
You made the joke laughable to just me and you now, Peter. Do you see what happened there? It's now so narrow that nobody gets it.
Well, it's okay because like the thing is this how ridiculous it got. They would quickly believe that over any other explanation we would give them.
I want the Gaussian coefficient tables.
It's so ridiculous. Like, I want to believe in it and go back to the globe just so I could use that as my proof and argue with people. I'm like, oh, cool. You think airplanes flying in a radar beam at 19,000 feet proves the globe? No, dude. Check this out. So there's these sea creatures.
Been proving the globe forever.
Dude,
just by having babies. Like,
yep.
And I bet you would believe you too. Be like, yeah, see, well, there you go. Science.
Yeah. Wasn't that on Star Trek? Wasn't the Star Trek movie where the whales were super smart and we had to count on the whales before the end of the world?
We had to save them for some reason.
I knew a nerd would find it. Stone, was it number 4?
There be whales here.
That was actually the best one. The rest of them sucked.
You know what would be actually
Bite your tongue. Wrath of Khan kicked major ass.
Like, do you know what would be actually sad about this story when you would be like a glober and telling this like evidence? That the rest of the globers would believe you. And they would be like, yeah, here's the proof. The whale are proving the globe. And they would be fine with it, you know? So that's the issue, I think.
Dude, next week, there'll be whale-proof stories. Yeah, they're already going to believe it now because we said it. It's going to trickle out through the community. Next week, they're going to be globe whale-proofs or whatever.
Mike.
Dude, who's eating so hard?
That's Pizio chomping down on that midnight snack.
Dude, you can hear that through my mouth. The spy mic has got to stop.
Every single chew you take, like I can hear the sea salt and the garlic crunching between your teeth.
You're over accustomed to Discord, which has crisp auto. We keep telling you this, dude. We go on Twitter, we can hear you breathe.
I can hear your thoughts. Speaking of that, I see some hands up.
He's like, you can hear it in my mouth.
We got hands up. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Taylor, TM, Liliana, and Xavier got their hand, and Superfly have their hands up.
You all have your
My hands up? Nah, my
Really?
that's glitching.
Oh,
I do.
I didn't have my hand up. No, I did not.
I don't.
Alan's not allowed to read out hands up anymore.
all right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's weird. It's just I had to.
This is the only time Alan was wrong.
Oh wait,
Oh.
you said on the recorded line now, so it's over.
But I do want to say something. Piezo, I really appreciated when you interjected and said what you said. Because, yeah, we do have to be fair. And sometimes I get mad at these Globers because, I don't know, whatever. But I'm glad that you said what you said. And I think that it's important that, you bring that energy in of kind of just making us do a check ourselves,
No worries, Liliana. Thanks for pointing out. I just want to create an honest environment,
Well, we don't have to steel man. I mean, we don't have to straw man when we can steel man, right? That's
Well, no, I totally appreciate that. I do appreciate it very much. But Stone, don't get me wrong. I also very much appreciate when you say what you say. I think all of it is very important.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta kick some ass.
sometimes you gotta kick him in the ass.
Stone puts his level 15 armor on one leg at a time, just like the rest of us.
we need all the flavors, it just makes it lively and real. So
Did you say all the flamers? No.
Easy.
flavors, like your Skittles comes in different flavors.
What are you, some kind of bigot?
No, but to add on to that, I mean, I can't wait till Tuesday because I know. Well, let me not pump up you guys too much. Let me not hype it up too much because hey, no, I'm gonna hype it up because these guys are gonna bring up the math. They're gonna bring the math and they're gonna steel man the debunks, right? So that's what the debunk did not have. They had a lot of retorts, but it didn't have any retorts that negated Alan's original position, which I found interesting, right? They said, "Oh no, it's the way that they're thinking about the angle of the transmission is all wrong." But then, okay, if it's a lot thinner, and this plane has to fly through that thinner band, how is that negating that it's a linear trajectory? They didn't have an answer for that. So steel manning with the math, and with that, to Taylor's point, and I'll let her go next. To put a button on the what was it called, tropospheric duction. To put a button on that, she earlier said that, hey, what's up with the refraction index that you guys are talking about? You have to go to two different mediums. We all seen the example with the fish tank. It's two different mediums. The atmosphere is all one big medium. And even from sea level all the way up to what the exosphere, it's all, the difference is what, 0.003 the last time I researched this. So there's not much of a refractive index difference. This tropospheric duction would be an explanation, to be fair, like Pizio says. But here's a huge problem with that. With these drastic temperature inversion differences, you'd be able to measure that. It's only, what is it? The troposphere, what was it? 9 miles up. 9 miles up. We have weather. We're able to detect the weather. So if we're looking at normal weather conditions, at the same day we're doing out our transmissions, Houston, we have a problem. It's normal weather, and it's going linearly. What the hell's going on? Are we going to insert ferries? What's going on with the bending of this linear trajectory? So yeah. What's up,
Talking
Taylor?
about light propagation.
I mean, the thing about tropospheric ducting is that it's not claimed to be refraction, because refraction is like the refractive index in air is very, very close to 1, like, which is just vacuum, right? But like it can change a little bit depending on the temperature gradients, like you said, but that causes, a very small angle change. It does not create a reflection, right? There's a difference between causing an ever so slight bend that can, tilt it ever so slightly downwards by, 1 or 2 degrees, or a fraction of 1 or 2 degrees, and a 180 degrees reflection, which is what would have to happen for that many, many, many times over and over and over again for it to travel the way it does horizontally out. For example, from San Francisco to Hawaii on, microwave frequencies. So it's literally just an ad hoc rationalization that holds no water, quite literally.
Dude, I can't imagine inventing an effect that would only affect the one thing that's currently disproving the globe in just the right way I need it to. Like, see how this linear propagation isn't working right? Hold on. Just get some atmospheric ducting and boom, right up the shallow. There it is, working just how it should.
We call that there roux fraction, boy.
It's like roux ducting. How about that?
So can y'all explain the problems with the radio frequencies, like in a short summary?
Battle of the Beams did line of sight transmissions, which gave a Morse code-like signal to keep them within the bindings of the beams, and then had an intersecting perpendicular beam to let them know when to drop bombs. Proof being, factories gone. Earth be flat.
Boom.
Pretty good.
Like it went too far?
Yeah, Taylor. So imagine you are a airplane, and instead of illustrating it as a radio beam, we're going to illustrate it as a really big laser pointer, okay, or a flashlight. So this really big laser pointer, you fly inside of it, right? You can see the laser pointer around you, so you know you're in the correct bearing to get to your target, because you're flying at night above the clouds. Everything under you is dark, and you're flying dark because you don't want to get noticed by the people you're at war with, because you want to fly over them stealthily to drop some bombs. So you leave Germany and you fly all the way to England, okay, staying inside this laser pointer the whole time. Now, granted, as you travel further, the laser pointer will spread out a little bit and turn into a slightly larger laser pointer, but you're still in the laser pointer the whole time, okay? Finally, when you get to your target city, which is, 300 plus miles away, they detected the initial detection of the beam was like 270 miles, and the city that it crossed over was 334 miles. So when you cross over that city inside this laser pointer, there's another laser pointer that comes in from way off to your right. That's 450 miles away, and it crosses over you, and it's a blue laser pointer instead of a red one. So when that red laser pointer and that blue laser pointer cross over, now you're seeing green, and when you see green, you know it's time to drop the bomb. Green means go. So that's an analogy using laser pointers instead of radio waves, but that's how this system worked. And the problem is this laser pointer, when they measured it 270 miles away, was only 400 yards wide. And at that distance, tangent to the horizon, the laser pointer would have been 40,000 feet in the air almost, and these airplanes flew at only 20,000 feet. So there's about 20,000 feet missing. The laser pointer would have had to have spread out 4,000 feet or 20,000 feet wide in order to make up for the 20,000 foot difference. So you would have had an extremely wide laser pointer, but when they actually went and found the laser pointer, the British did, and they measured the laser pointer, it was only actually 400 yards wide, meaning geometrically the only way that this laser pointer would have remained at airplane altitude when they found it would it be if it was pointing over a flat surface.
Wow.
This is actually. And then they use it to bomb a bunch of cities in the war.
Antenna?
Yeah, the funny part is they were like, oh, should we defend against this? And they were like, nah, Earth's a globe. We're totally safe. And then the factories got blown up and everyone died. So I find that part, like they staked their whole country's security on the shape of the Earth and then got smoked for it. And then nothing happened. Everyone's cool with it. I mean, crazy story.
I understand the laser pointer analogy. I'm sorry if I interrupt them just real quick. I understand the laser pointer analogy, but was this actually like a 1,200 foot, 400 meter antenna that was found?
It was a like 100 meter antenna, that not even that tall. It was actually a little less than that, but that was about 50 meters above sea level. So we just went ahead and rounded it up to 200 meters high, even though it wasn't nearly that tall.
Not an antenna though. It doesn't do like radio.
It was a
Didn't we give it 600 meters or something?
no. It was 656 feet. We gave it.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, which was 200 meters, but it was actually shorter than that. We just threw some extra height on there just to be nice to them.
So do you know what kind of antenna? Like, how can I learn more? Because a vertical antenna is going to propagate an omnidirectional beam. Like, that's
No,
not
it was a horizontal antenna array.
Yeah, like a Yagi. A Yagi antenna is 3 or 4 horizontal bars all stuck on one main bar, and it's directional. That'd be perfect for what you just described.
Yeah, it was a directional antenna. Alan has a website with a page for it that has pictures of it, and you can see the images of it.
Whoa, that'd be cool.
There's also a nice video that Piezo.
It's literally just a giant horizontal crossbar that's like 100 yards wide, and it's just got like a bunch of dipole antennas sticking out towards the propagation direction. And the laser pointer is actually created by 2 beams that intersect in the middle. Two beams that are like equal width, and their cross section is like 1/3 of the total width, or maybe less. I don't know. I don't know what the width of the left and right
It's
beams
just
are.
like a localizer on approach current day.
And what's the website? I'd love to check that out.
I'm posting it now. Give me a
Alan, you
sec.
want to?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's in general.
Yeah, we have spent a lot of time getting as much primary source material as possible on this. So Alan's working on like the final formalized Prezi with all the data in it, but it's a doozy.
Nicabine. Nope. Nicabine?
They cannot invoke skywave propagation. They cannot invoke skywave bounces, because if you shoot up to the sky and it bounces back to the ground, then everywhere in between here and there is no beam. And the planes fly inside the beam from here to there the entire time. So the beam is traveling along, the ground at a specific altitude above the ground, aka airplane height.
Well, did you hear one of his apologetics? He says, Alan would be correct if we knew for a fact the altitude that the plane flew, and if there weren't other signals, and if this wasn't a repeating signal. Like, dude, are you serious right now?
He didn't mention he didn't mention the 19K limit.
Wait, he actually said that about the altitude. I didn't catch that. That's hilarious because we know exactly how high they flew. GG,
Oh yeah,
GG nerd.
oh yeah. I got
6,000 meters.
But like, are you 100% sure?
Yep.
6,000 meters or less. But I mean, using the higher number is going to give them a better chance at making it, of course.
Guys, the math isn't going to help you. It helps us, but keep trying.
Yo, my browser's having an awesome memory leak, so I'm going to leave and come back real quick. But I posted that up in the Jumbo. It should be there in a couple seconds. So the first 2 links are pictures and diagrams and some math and stuff, and some primary sources are mentioned in there as well. And then the third link is the get.ethercosmology.com. You can actually look up all the sources on there in the find file section. So anything that's referenced on the page at the bottom, Ether Cosmology, or in the Obsidian links, you can go to that get.ether link and find the references there. They're all provided there. I'll be right back.
Hey y'all, so I just got this like Shane's database, and I'm so excited to take a look at it. But there's like 2 things that have been holding me, okay? And things that are really holding me back from my understanding is that I heard a story of these 2 guys at our local radio club who, they're not that far apart from one on HF radio, and they talk to one another on, long path. That's, I guess they say going around the globe, I've never done that personally. You know, what is kind of our answer for the plain Earth if that happened? And then the second thing, real quick, is just what about like, are there any satellites that nearly orbit in a south to north orientation? Like, how do we explain like Starlinks that are at really high latitudes?
So satellites do not go around the Earth in a giant loop from north to south and back to north the other side again. They don't do that. There are geostationary satellites and there are orbital satellites at various latitude bands, dependent upon their altitude. And there are plenty that do the whole orbit thing, like around in a circle east to west. Now there are some that have like this weird like infinity sign loop-de-loop thing that they do, like north to south in a particular region in between certain latitude coordinates, but they don't go like all the way around, like from the North Pole down to Antarctica on one side and up around the other side back to the North Pole. They don't do that.
Yeah, you're right. I haven't seen one do that. Yeah, I know the ISS might do like that weird loop like you're describing. I was just curious, like I've been like really advocating, like, why can't someone just like shoot a ballistic missile over Antarctica with a square frame camera on it? But I don't know, no one will do that. So what about the question about the ham radio? Like, so how do we explain short path versus long path using HF?
I am not an expert on ham radios by any means, but I would be very skeptical if someone said that they were on the East Coast and pointed their ham towards Europe, and the dude in California got it coming in from Japan. Like, that's kind of weird. Unless there's, some crazy power going on there.
Yeah,
But
you're
even
actually right. And I'm thinking I'm really skeptical of that because even the longest HF propagation is like, a few thousand, several thousand miles, not all the way around. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Marconi was one of the first people to do some crazy stuff like US to Europe, and now people do that, not with not overwhelming difficulty. It can be done, if you have the right equipment, but I've never heard of a person standing on well, then again, now that I think about it, I think Tesla actually did some stuff like that with one of his crazy towers. That he had he claimed he had a signal heard around the world, but I don't know enough to really speak on it. So I can't really make a claim on that. I'd have to get back to you. But as far as like ham radio people with their little, antenna on top of their house, I would be very skeptical saying, I'm an East Coaster shooting it towards Europe, and then my homie over in Texas got it coming in from, Japan or whatever. Like,
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry to like make that claim. I didn't say I observed this. This is just something I heard. So I'm gonna do some more research because you're right. I'm starting to question that now.
I have an uncle of mine that he's a ham radio operator, and he talked from California, from Tehachapi, California, all the way out to Hawaii. But he did it. He claimed that he did that on skip. So I'm not sure what that analogy is, but he said he did. I believe him.
yeah, he when he says skip, he means like he points it up and it bounces off the sky and comes back down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what it's talking about, sky waves. It's like skipping off of
maybe even twice.
Yeah, maybe just who knows what angle, but yeah, that's a little different. But once again, that's not like an infinitesimal thing.
Hey guys, I have like a question. Did anyone try to really verified that there is a ionosphere that is helping with skywave propagation. I don't know, maybe test if we will be able to receive signal in the dead zones. Where's the bounds? If you would be able to hear the signal in the dead zones, that would mean there are no dead zones, and that would be like there is no ionospheric propagation, right? Because they came with ionospheric propagation after Marconi, like Oliver Heavy's side. And did anyone try to verify this claim that there's a really ionosphere and there's a really bounce down and back up?
So I was looking up earlier what the different materials are that radio waves can bounce off of, and it said metals, glass, and water, essentially, and then ceramics. Like if we believe the waters are above, couldn't that cause bouncing?
Not at the elevations or altitudes that they're talking about for the geometry to work. They're so much higher, and you would actually be, no, I would leave my answer at that.
Has anybody simulated radio waves bouncing off of ions like in a laboratory?
You can hold on, I have a patent right here. There's a artificial ionospheric mirror composed of a plasma layer which can be tilted, which Raytheon has. But before I post that, I want to post this other thing. It's the ARRL.org.
Oh, the long distance record chart.
Yep, long distance record listing for radio propagation. So I'm going to post a link to that.
Classic.
And put it in the Jumbotron now. And then I will also put up that patent. 1 second. Yeah, there we go. I'll give you the Google patent link for that, and I'll tag you in it, Taylor. But basically, if you can create a layer of plasma and given a control mechanism to control the phase and frequency, you can use it to bounce off electromagnetic waves of certain frequencies. There's like a mathematical relationship in there somewhere. Usually it's that the frequency of the plasma layer has to be higher than that of the incident wave, and it also has to be below a certain angle in order to be reflected, called the critical angle. I think for the ionosphere they say it's like 35 degrees or less typically, but anyways, here is the link to that, and I'm sure there are plenty of patents just like it, but I will just put this one up. All right, it's there, and it's in the Jumbotron now.
What can we learn from that, from the plasma experiment done?
Well, so plasma, ionized gas technically is plasma. Like if you think of fire, if you think of lightning, things like that, that's plasma, right? When you have a flame, down there at the tip of the cone of the flame where you see like a purple or a blue flame, that's actually plasma. And as it goes out towards the reddish part and gets further and further away, you get to like this in-between area where it's like losing enough energy to where it's like down staging back towards a gas. And then same thing for like lightning. Lightning is actually just straight up plasma as well. It's a electrical discharge through the air. Now you can actually have lightning like an arc through a vacuum too. You can have a spark gap inside of a vacuum, and it's a little bit different. But we see lightning manifesting in the air. So when that lightning arc takes its path through the air, and the place where the air is, that air will be turned into plasma for the duration of the the current arc. But plasma is the fourth state of matter. It's if you think about the geometry of matter, right? You think about a solid. A solid is where the molecules in the lattice structure are held very, very tightly together in their place. A liquid, once a solid reaches its melting point, in other words, once it has received enough energy, it will turn into a liquid. So physically, what's happening on the molecular level, all the atoms everywhere, in every piece of matter, every bit of stuff are vibrating. And they're vibrating with a certain intensity. They have a certain amount of motion, how far they move, right? As they gain more energy, they move more, they move further. And so there is a threshold, which once it receives a certain amount of energy based on its lattice structure, it can't move anymore without breaking out of place, and the molecules will actually space apart to a different energy level, and that's when you transition. So you're transitioning from a solid to a liquid. A liquid is where the the molecules are more loosely bonded together. They're still held together, but much more loosely. That's where you get the liquid. And then once those bonds receive enough energy to jump out again, then they turn into a gas, which is diffuse, meaning that the individual molecules of the gas are not bonded together. They are all individually free to move. And that's why, gases like air, you can move right through them and they don't have any type of, attachment. Now, once the gas molecules receive enough energy, they will ionize, and each individual molecule will be ionized, and it will turn into plasma. Now, if you have that gas collected into a dense enough space, like a thick gas, where it fills a volume of a container fairly continuously, then when you plasmize it based on how densely the gas is in there, you'll have a very dense layer of plasma. And that plasma is like, think of it like lightning in a bottle, is like the best way I could describe it. It is very unique. Plasma research is very interesting. There's a lot we still don't know about it because it does all kinds of crazy things. It can actually pass through stuff and transfer energy through stuff in strange ways, but I'm not an expert on plasma, so that's just a kind of a general rundown of
Think of it more similar to a fluorescent tube with the voltage traveling through the gas itself, which is causing ionization and light.
Put a video up top of them pulling plasma from a Tesla coil into a syringe. It's pretty cool.
But do you think that radio waves can bounce off of this plasma and still be able to transmit the signal?
Oh, as far as that goes, I do think that can happen, yes. Now, in terms of what's going on up in the sky, that's a different matter. I don't know how much of it is based on there's actually a thing up there that's acting as a mirror, and how much is based on when you shoot a wave up at a certain angle and it has its omnidirectional divergence. Eventually, it spreads back down at some point somewhere. I don't really know. I will trust that radio operation has been carried on long enough that they've identified skip zones and things like that, such that there probably is some kind of bouncing going on. But I'm not saying that everything they say about it's true. Just the simple phenomenon, like you asked me, is it possible to bounce a wave off of a layer of plasma? I do think that that's possible, at least on a controlled scale. As far as the sky, that is a much bigger system with a lot more variables. That's a dope video, watching this dude just open a syringe near this coil and filling up with purpley gas. Lightning in a needle.
No, he's creating vacuum, literal less than air pressure. So he sealed off the syringe with the nail. He starts with next to no volume and then stretches out that volume to create much.
Oh, that's a
lower
nail in
air
there. I didn't
pressure.
even realize that.
Yeah, and he's conducting through the nail the potential coming out of the coil.
Ooh, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of a mutual inductance that's going on there, and it's trying to seek ground through the syringe. Because it's a lower resistance pathway because the air pressure is dramatically dropped compared to everything else around it.
Are those gas ions inside that syringe? Because there shouldn't be any gas in there.
It's lack of gas is the reason that these are allowed to formulate.
Right.
This is resolution of charge, right? This is exactly what we're talking about.
So
it's just a question of amperage is really low.
So there's literally a current inside the walls of that syringe, and it's causing a frequency shift in the visible light spectrum and appearing as purple. That's pretty cool.
Well, that could be very much a function of the frequency coming through the coil. There could be a resonant effect there causing a particular type of color that you see. But yeah, it's bitching.
Now, what happens when he pushes the syringe really hard? Does it shoot sparks off the nail?
I've never heard Mr. Taylor speak, and I think Mr. Taylor's a flat earther now too. I didn't know that, so that was cool.
I don't know. He's learning.
I think it's cool when people who we don't talk to actually learn all the stuff that we say and actually become part of us anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to keep teaching people. Have a good pitch.
For every person you think you're talking to, you're actually addressing the whole family. So keep that in mind.
Exactly.
Do you guys? How many of you all are familiar with the Aharonov-Bohm effect? So I just
no idea. On that note, though, I'm gonna take off. you guys can have fun with that. I'm super tired.
Are you back, Alan?
Later, bro. Yeah, I just got back a couple minutes ago. And after you deliver the Aharonov effect gravy, I'm gonna
I've heard. I've heard about what you were talking about, but I'd like to hear it.
Well, I just learned about it the other day, actually, but I've been looking a little bit more into it. I still haven't done an actual proper dig. I've just been looking more deeply into the surface level part of it. But they found basically that they could take an electromagnet and put magnetic shielding around it so that the magnetic flux could not escape the region surrounding it. And then when they conduct current, the way an electromagnet works is when you apply current to it, it generates a magnetic field inside. So they put this electromagnet, it's called a solenoid. They put this electromagnet in a fixed location. And then they took a run of wire. They made a loop of wire around it a certain distance away. And they put current in one end of the wire, and it goes around both ends of the circle and then comes out to the other side. And when the electromagnet is not powered on, then everything goes as normal. The current goes in one side, comes out the other. The two paths, since they're the same length, arrive at the other end at the same time. And because they're, traveling same current, same voltage, same time. But when the electromagnet is powered on, you notice that one of the electrons in one of the wires arrive slightly sooner, and the other side of the path, the electrons on that side of the wire arrive slightly later. And it's oh yeah, it's almost like there's a magnetic field, rotating and making one side speed up and the other side slow down because one side's going along with the rotation and the other side's going against it. But actually, hold on a second, there's not a magnetic field there at all. That was actually the point of the experiment. They specifically encased and shielded the electromagnet so that no magnetic flux could get away from it. And they like measure and confirm that the magnetic field in that region is 0. But yet somehow, even though there's no magnetic field there, there's like a force being applied to the charges. And it's interesting because the equation predicting the force on a charge takes into account the magnetic field. But if the magnetic field component is a 0, then the force predicted is a 0. So the Maxwell equations actually predict 0 forces on the electrons because there's no interaction happening between any electric and magnetic fields. But yet we know that there are forces being imposed on the charges because of the change in arrival times. There's an interference pattern created. And the only way that this can be explained mathematically is not to use the electric field, the E field, and the magnetic field, the B field, but to use something else which is called the A field. It's called the vector potential field. And it's just a very, very generic name, vector potential. It's like vector of what, potential of what, right? It's like, what is that talking about? But it's said in classical electrodynamic theory, the A field was simply said to be a mathematical construct of convenience used to calculate the magnetic field, because the curl of the A field equals the B field. Okay, so you can actually, and also the negative phi minus the partial time derivative of the A field equals the E field. So you can actually use the A field to determine what the E field and B field will be. But up until then, they said the A field was not physically real. It wasn't an actual physical thing. It was just, math used to predict the actual physical thing. Well, now they made an experiment back in the 60s, I think is when they first did it, where they isolated the A field from the B and E field so that the E and the B field were both 0, yet there was still a force happening. And it showed that it was very mysterious because it showed that the A field actually was causing physical effects on the charges in the system. And there are some people, I know Dr. Robert Bennett believes, he's done presentations even in the past, that he believes the A field is the ether field. The A just stands for ether, if you can think of it that way. But that the actual electromagnet, when it has a current applied to it and it generates that moving magnetic field, that the magnetic field is coupled to the A field. The B field is coupled to the A field, so that when you rotate the B field through the current application, you actually also drag the ether with it. And so it was the dragged ether that was moving, that was spiraling and contacting the charges, that actually was pushing the charges along their path and causing the arrival time to change. So it's a very interesting effect. You could look into it. It's also the claimed basis by which the Marinov motor works. Now, we have only found like 3 examples of people so far, 3 or 4 of people making them. I have not yet seen a version of the Marinov motor where they isolated it as well as they did in the Aharonov-Bohm laboratory experiments. Those were a very different animal because they were in big fancy, highly funded labs. The Marinov motors that we've seen so far have been more like poor man's creations. But either way, it's like a motor based off of that principle. So you guys should check it out if you've never heard of it before.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it demonstrates real physical forces being applied to charges without a magnetic or electric field present.
Sounds very etheric.
So the question is what is in there that's rotating? But anyways, that's it for me tonight. I've got things to do tomorrow. I have to be up, so I appreciate you guys. Thanks for holding the space, Brian.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody. It is getting kind of late, so.
Before we go, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Is there a list of proof for flat Earth? That's all.
Man,
I'm sorry.
I would say the entire like ether cosmology and Shane's database websites. Shane's database has a lot of stuff pertaining to maps and the sky, and I'm sure he has like copies of all the other stuff too, or most of it as well. I usually would point people towards the ether cosmology website that Toby and Alan run for more of the like electromagnetic physics type stuff, because that's where Alan puts his like presentations and stuff. So depending on what topic you're
That's
looking
awesome,
for.
dude. I'm in Cinnabon. Dude, that's awesome. Okay, so Alan's website, DM it to me or something. Does Whitson have a website too?
So if you look in the Jumbotron, Alan posted up there 28 minutes ago. The it's like a good number of clicks over to the right from the left side, but his like Obsidian database, it's publish.obsidian.md/spaceaudits. And then Shane has one as well.
I just posted one in the nest right now. Alan has a list of experiments that gives credence to flat Earth. So the very last one has a list of Alan's database where he has experiments. It's a good one too.
Yo, real quick, I'm about to head off. I just put the True Earth wiki on there as well. My boy no longer on the ball.
Well, hey,
runs
brother,
that.
thank you for your knowledge, man. I come in here and I learn a lot from you. Thanks.
Yeah, make sure if you want any of that stuff that's up there in the Jumbo to bookmark it or whatnot, because as soon as I shut down the space, it disappears. Unless it's down there in the purple pill.
All right, later, y'all. See you guys on what's tomorrow? Thursday will be research and reading night for Ether Cause.
Yep, and it's 10 to 2 my time. Got y'all beat for Eastbound.
Later.
I think I'm going to call it a night, boys. It's been a slice as usual.
Appreciate it, Stone.
Yeah, rock on, gang.
Good night.
Later.
It's getting late. It's almost
See you
10
guys
here.
for research and reading night, and then Flat
Y'all
Earth
have a
Friday,
good
boys.
night.
God bless you guys. Follow the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I am out.
Yo, did my mic work at all the last couple of seconds?
No, but I hear you now.
Nice.
Nope.
Okay, cool. So, okay. I put another link up in the Jumbo as well. It's for the True Earth Wikitide. So there's a bunch of resources on there in regards to flat Earth. So different content creators, different evidences, etc., experiments and whatnot. You can check that out. And then, yeah, I'm heading off as well. So tomorrow is research and reading night. So tune in for that. See what we got cooking. And then Friday will be Flat Earth Fridays, boys. The return.
Episode 108.
Peace.
Peace out, everybody. Appreciate you out for hanging out, and you don't have to go home. But you got
Thank you, guys. Good night. Have a nice day or evening, whatever.
All right, lads. See you tomorrow for research and reading night and Flat Earth Friday.